Be the one to see if you're interested in this. Okay.
Hey, but where did my third language go? Why did I tell you that? I know my trick.
How do we get the volume?
I help if you. Maybe turn your camera off. I think they're all just waiting. Hello?
All right. Do we need to mute ourselves?
Yes, you have to make me.
For those of you that just jumped on, welcome, welcome. There's a slight delay because of technology. Peter is getting set up right now. He'll be right with us in just a moment. So thanks for being here. We're excited to be with you.
Well, hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? This is so great. Oh my goodness. So many good people on it. We are really, really excited to do this. It's been a long time in coming. So thank you for being here with us. We're recording. I think we have Grant Beckwith on too. He's the head of school at American Heritage School. I'm the director of the AHS Worldwide program or campus. We have 3 campuses, a Salt Lake campus, an AF campus or American Fork campus, and then this worldwide campus that you're all part of. We are really, really excited for you to be with us today. And we're really excited to share something that we've been working really hard on for many, many years. So welcome. Thank you for being with us. Grant, I wanted to give you a couple minutes to just share some thoughts and welcome everybody to this this webinar. So go ahead, and while you're doing it, I'm gonna be making some of our team co-hosts with me so that they can help answer chat as you have questions throughout this hour.
Thank you, Peter. And I likewise am so honored and excited to see all of you.
I can't hear you,
here.
Grant.
You can't hear me right now. Can anyone else hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me.
I can hear you, Grant.
We can hear you.
Great. Well, I wish that we could take time to get to know all of you right now. You're zooming in from all over the world, really. This is, again, my name is Grant Beckwith, as Peter said. I am the head of school of American Heritage School. We have 3 campuses, and I serve as a kind of superintendent for each of those campuses. You may be aware that we have announced a new campus in downtown Salt Lake City, right next to the Temple Square. But this American Heritage School Worldwide program really has enrollment that is eclipsing all of our in-person campuses and has for some time. So it's an incredibly important part of our mission. It really is the fulfillment of our mission as a school. Today is a historic milestone for us. We've been working towards this for really over a decade. And I want to thank Peter, who is the director of our American Heritage School Worldwide program, but also many of you, including donors who have given significant amounts of time, effort, funding to make what we're about to show you here possible. This tool, LiftEd, allows us to make high quality education more accessible to more families around the world. It helps you to do it in a less difficult way, to administer at home in a way that's not so burdensome. And it makes it more engaging because it's not about the technology. The technology isn't actually the solution. That's what some people misunderstand. It's the human connection that this allows that is the solution. It's the learning communities, these family education centers that will be created where human beings, you, your children, people who are in your circle of trust will gather together, and the technology, the innovative aspects of it will facilitate all of that. So we're very excited about this, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to join. We need your help. We're glad that you have stepped up and stepped forward to be a part of this early pilot. And so we appreciate your time and your sacrifice in being a part of what we believe will change education for families who need it everywhere around the world. Peter, how's that? Is that good enough as an introduction?
That's a great start.
Okay, we'll turn it back to you. Thank you everyone for joining.
We have such a good group here, and I'm looking through, and thank you for those who have your cameras on, because it's so much nicer to see faces and smiles and eyes. And so at least on my front screen here, I have 50 tiles, and I can see many of you who I've worked with, who I know from family school for many years, from Power Hour. I won't even start naming names, but it's fun to see so many of you who've been with us over the last decade. So thanks again for being here. At the top of the hour here, I'm going to give a couple brief tips and some information, housekeeping tips. Looks like we need to mute all. Kristen, I've put you in charge of muting everyone here. So we're going to go ahead and just mute everybody right here at the beginning. And the first hour is going to be dedicated to us sharing. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to go back to the big problem, the big solution. We're going to touch on those very briefly, and then we're going to get right into this LiftEd solution and demoing that so you can really see what it is and how it will work for your families. We're going to talk about Power Hour and how that's improving for this coming year. We're going to talk about a modification in how we build content, a huge improvement there. We're going to talk about a change in and how students will learn on this platform and the order in which they'll learn, the courses that they're going to be participating in this year. So a lot of really exciting news. We'll talk about the retreat just briefly. I'll show you some things coming: math, language arts, AHS online middle and high school program. And so we have a lot to cover, and we're going to spend the first hour presenting. Now the chat's open, and there are several people here. And in fact, if you look around, their cameras are on. Many people on this first tile, if your cameras are on or you're looking at the first tile of people, you'll see Kristen wave, and Carrie, she'll wave, and April, and Clarissa, and Nate, and Pablo, and Grant, and I probably missed a couple. They're here to answer your questions on chat. And so you can ask as many questions as you like. We'll try to respond to them as best we can. If there's something that they feel we've missed as we've been sharing, then they can communicate that to Kristen, and Kristen can ask that question. So we can still answer some questions throughout this first hour, but we're going to be pretty focused on delivering information and demoing and presenting for that first hour. And then the second hour, we will be here for a second hour. So if you want to stick around and you have questions, and then please, we'll be here and we can answer those questions for you. So there will be time for that. Oh, I see Deanna and Elizabeth there at the bottom, and Molly. Okay, fantastic. We have such a good team. We have gone from about 15 employees this time last year to over 80 employees this year. So many things have happened in the world of AHS worldwide, many good things. Perhaps most importantly, we've moved forward on some ideas that we've been planning for many, many years. And we've been able to do that because of some really generous donors who care deeply about the mission of the school. And I kind of wanted to start there with the mission, because I think that's important, that it's something that as a team, and perhaps people who've been with family school for many years, they understand how deeply we care about the mission of American Heritage School. And so the first thing that I wanted to share with you was that. I am not the host anymore, Kristen, so you've got to allow me to screen share so that I can show my screen. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is the adventure coming. I'm gonna pull this across so that you don't have too much of this covered up. It's one thing I don't like about Zoom, is I can't see you and share my screen full screen without there being a little black box. So you probably see a little black box in the bottom right. You can just ignore that. This is the mission of American Heritage School. For some of you who may not be quite as familiar with it, but even for all of us who are familiar with American Heritage School, the family school, the mission of the school, I thought it would be really important to just start with this so that we remember why we're doing this. American Heritage School assists parents worldwide in developing the hearts, minds, and bodies of students to realize their divine potential. That's not a small mission, that first sentence. We do that by these 7 tenets, these seven specific missions, mission initiatives: being useful in the hands of the Lord,
Peter, I think you might be frozen.
He did freeze. Let me, just while he's getting back on, somebody asked me in a direct message just now if LiftEd can be used for micro schools, because I mentioned learning communities around the world. And the answer to that question, which I'll answer for everyone, is absolutely. In fact, it was intended for that purpose. We envision that this technology will facilitate, because it has the ability to identify people in your region who are also using LiftEd. It creates a community for you by identifying where the other people are that are using it. And then you can create micro schools out of those people who are using LiftEd in their homes. So it really, that is the intention of this, to help you create schools like that. Really good question.
I'm back, Grant.
Okay.
Well, I was on a hard connection, so that wouldn't happen, a hard line connection, and now I'm on wireless. So hopefully this one works a little bit better. Lastly, learning to reason and discern between right and wrong, truth and error, developing character and self-government of mind and body, and conducting themselves in all aspects of life as Christians. Personally, my family, and I know many of your families and your children have been blessed by this mission. And LiftEd, at its core, the purpose, our primary objective is to make an American Heritage School education more accessible to families around the world, more affordable, more accessible, more engaging, more connected, more viable, more sustainable long-term. 50% of homeschoolers, they go back to public schooling within the very first year, or they move on to an online school or private school. And so, so we need to make we need to provide an alternative that makes that step from public school to an alternative much more viable. This is what we offer right now. I thought this would be helpful just to see a real high level view of AHS Worldwide, what we offer by way of resources to help families, to assist families in doing exactly what we just talked about. We have two paths. AHS Worldwide provides parent-led resources and student-led resources. In the parent-led side, you're very familiar with these because this is what we started 10 years ago. This is our 10th anniversary of Family School, coincidentally. About 5 years ago, we launched Heart Start Preschool, which is a comprehensive preschool program. Those are resources where the parent leads, the parent teaches multiple children in the case of Family School. On this other side, this is what's coming or has been in the works for many years. AHS Online is the accredited or 4-credit path to graduation. And then LiftEd is this K-8 solution. So we have a 7-12 solution. LiftEd is the K-8 solution with all the electives. Math and language arts are coming in 2023. They're piloting this year in Family School for free for all Family School members who opt into it. We'll talk about that in a little bit. LiftEd is also not just content. It's also a live class. We call that Power Hour. And LiftEd just lifts it. It lifts it to a new level. It takes the content and it makes it a lot more engaging, and it connects students with each other, with their parents, with faith in ways that we currently aren't in the other resources that we provide. So we're going to be talking a lot about this one right here, LiftEd. I want to make sure that you know if LiftEd isn't the solution for you and you feel afterwards that, hey, I just really love teaching my own children in my home, and I love having these discussions. I love preparing for these lessons, and I like being the teacher for all this content. And if that's you, then you keep doing that. We don't want to replace you as the teacher. If that's the role you want to play, then or be, shouldn't say play, it's the wrong word. Then that's the gold standard, right? Many families can't do that or do that much. And so LiftEd really does take some of that work and, like Grant mentioned earlier, and make it just a lot more easier for families to do that and still be highly connected in very, very meaningful ways still. We're not replacing the teacher ever in this experience. We're just doing more of the work and letting the students lead in the ways that they can. Coming to Family School. So what's happening with Family School? Some pretty significant improvements there. We talked about developing a K-8 math program and a K-8 language arts program many years ago. And we are going to pilot both of those this fall. So the entire K-8 language arts and the entire K-8 math program, I master math and I love language. And those titles have significance, are significant, for specific reasons that relate to the way that we're developing these math and language arts programs, and we'll talk about that later on in the hour. We also are producing several what we're calling growth courses. These are Defending the Constitution, Science of Happiness, Health, April, others. There are many.
Communication,
leadership class.
World religion.
World religions, yeah. So there are many courses that we're producing for LiftEd that we're producing first for parents, and we're putting those on Family School. Then we're adapting those and turning them into student facilitated resources and bringing them into LiftEd. And so most, if not all, the content that we're producing for LiftEd that is new is actually going to reside on Family School first. In the case of I Master Math and I Love Language, we were going to sell these. We were going to add, they were going to be add-ons for a Family School membership. We promised them to Power Hour families 2 years ago, and they'll receive them as well. They'll receive them eventually on LiftEd. But we've decided that we're going to include anyone who wants to be a part of this pilot this year with math and language arts. They will be on Family School, and you can access them there under My Courses. I'll show you how to access those, or where they will be here in just a little bit when we get over to the website. But that's some good news for Family School families. I think in all of our effort to develop software and content and experience for student facilitated learning that we don't want parents to feel left out of this, of all of these improvements. And so our family school families will be receiving some significant improvements this fall as well. So family schools where you are and where you want to stay, then we want to support you there, and we will continue to support you in some pretty significant ways. You'll receive an email about this particular program and opting into it, participating in our pilot and getting those for free added to your account. If you don't want them, you don't have to have them, but if you want them, we'll give them to you. All right, big problem and big solution. Grant talked a bit about this already, and this is the problem. And if you've watched the video, you understand this already. If you've homeschooled, you understand this already. If your kids have participated in online school, which all of them have because of COVID, whether you're a family here who has been, who is in public school right now, over the last 2 years, every child experienced online school. Admittedly, not a great version of it, but it was online nonetheless. And this is the problem. Homeschool, they come out of public school. If they can take that massive leap, which it is a huge leap to homeschool, at some point, moms burn out. Most of them do. And they go to online school or they go back to public school. If they go to online school, then the students burn out. At some point they say, I'm a little lonely, I'm disengaged, there's not enough accountability, and they burn out. They want to go back to school with their friends. So the only other alternative is private school. And that's just that's a non-starter for a lot of families because of the cost of private school. And so every solution, every current alternative, every current solution to public education fails at some point for most families. If you've been homeschooling for more than 2 years, you're among 25% of families who start homeschooling. That's the statistic. It's not good enough. It's not a good enough solution if 75% of people fail within 2 years. Online school doesn't have much better statistics. The completion rate of an online class is below 20%. That means a student starts a class in an online environment, only fewer than 20% finish those classes. That's coming from BYU's good independent study program. I can't imagine what it would be in a program that wasn't as good as theirs. And then private school has a very high retention. Our attrition here on campus is just over 6%, so much more successful, but it's very expensive, and and regardless of the expense, many families can't access it because of proximity. We feel like the real solution is a network of learning communities, like you see in some of these pictures here. We call them we call them family education centers, and this is going to be a huge part of our work moving forward. LiftEd is just a tool to facilitate families coming together and educating and supporting each other in their local communities. Yes, many families will not have access to a family education center that's close enough for many years, perhaps, but the software is being developed to gather and organize families based on geography, so that when they have this critical mass of their 5 to 6 to 7 families, it doesn't take very many, they can form what we're calling a family education center and be a part of our American Heritage Family Education Center network. That network will be supported in significant ways. And I'm not going to even talk about that today because 1, we don't have the time, and 2, it's not the right time. We have a few pilots that we'll be working with in Omaha and here in Utah and in Boise, and perhaps even in Africa this coming fall. But we'll work with those pilots this year, and then next year, this time, hopefully we're talking about expanding that to maybe 20 to 30 family education centers. And the next year after that, several hundred perhaps. Again, it doesn't take many families coming together to provide a micro school of American Heritage School. That can't happen without excellent content that connects families in meaningful ways. That content can do that too, but inventive ed tech that also connects families in really, really meaningful ways. And we're going to show you a demo of that here shortly. We feel like the foundation, at least the technical foundation for learning communities, will be this piece of software, this LiftEd experience platform. It's a tremendous expense and investment, well over $5 million to build the platform alone, the content, several millions of dollars to build the content the way that the platform will need it to be engaging. That content is king. Content is king. It makes a little difference how wonderful the vehicle is that distributes content if the content itself isn't remarkable in every way. And so we have this new studio that we've just finished. They're building a beautiful set. This will be our LiftEd set, where teachers come in from this hallway in the back and sit in these chairs and change and move and use the whiteboard or go to the creative maker space over here. Or we might play videos on this framed window. That's not really a window, clearly. It's a TV with. It's just a beautiful space that's being developed in Vineyard in our studio right now. Before I show you the demo, I want you to understand I really want you to understand what the three primary objectives are for LiftEd, specifically LiftEd. Now, you know what the mission of the school is, and hopefully, and not hopefully, but these objectives will reinforce that mission. It will match that mission. The first one is connection. The second one is engagement. And the third one is production. These are the three objectives of LiftEd: to increase connection at all levels, connection with parents and students, mentors, connection with their faith, with other faiths, with their country, right? And importantly, their divine identity. That's the kind of content that we're producing, and that's the kind of software that we're producing, software that connects. Engagement. Increase engagement by improving content, increasing incentive, and providing adventure and agency during all of the learning experiences that they have. We don't want parents to say to a child, "Have you done your homework?" In fact, we think that will never happen. It's more likely that you'll say, "You only get so much time on LiftEd," and you might even use it as a consequence. Production is the third one. We feel like the service that we provide right now with videos, with even the very low production videos that we've been producing, not on a nice platform that does the things that I'll show you here. It's very engaging. Students come together in Power Hour. They have a great time. They connect with each other. And so we're doing it right now. We're doing it in this kind of beta experience, and we're having some success. But where we're failing, where we feel we're failing to a large extent, is this production objective. Many of the students, they'll watch the videos, they'll come to class, but they won't do the record assignments. And we think it has a lot to do with the fact that the learning assignments model school, and they don't model real world meaningful application. And so one of the most significant improvements to content is actually in the learning objectives and the learning outcomes that we're expecting because of the kind of production-based, product and project-based learning activities that will follow them throughout every unit of every course. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. I hope you're excited about that. We are really excited about that. We have some great people that we've teamed up with to help us come up with these activities and these kits that can help students from wherever they're at in the world get their hands on an activity or a project, build something, do something that's meaningful, connect with service, with family in ways that can reinforce what they learned in a very productive and meaningful way. All right, are you ready to have a look at LiftEd? I'm going to end this PowerPoint show here. We'll come back to it in just a little bit. And now I'm going to go to the website so I can show, so we'll give you a little tour. This is exciting. All right, fantastic. Oh, I'm giving away the summer youth retreat just opened, so you can register for that if you're a student. Current student or new students can sign up for that. Current students first and then new students. This is the landing page, and I think, let me refresh this and just see if this enrollment, yes, it's working now. So at this point, all of you clicked on that link earlier this week or last week, and you went to a form where you could input your email address. Now you can actually enroll your students. So this is the enrollment form. And that price is actually wrong. The regular price is going to be $88. And you'll see what your discount is for being connected with us here. as a family school family or a Power Hour family, free members, former members. All right. Let me find the right screen. I've got this covered, so I can't see it very well. All right, I'm going to show you two things. I'm going to show you the parent dashboard and the student dashboard. We're going to spend more time on the student dashboard because it's more significant as far as the technology used to do all the things we've been talking about. All the objectives we have really are geared for students, but we have other objectives that are designed around the parent and to support the parent as they manage their students and as they connect with their students regarding the content that they're learning and as they're even grading assignments, reviewing work that they've submitted, reviewing videos that they've submitted. Parents have a lot of access, and I'm going to show you a couple of those as well. All right, this is the student dashboard. So once a student logs in to the LiftEd platform coming this fall, this will be available middle of August. We'll actually be done 1st of July, and then we'll test it for about 6 weeks. So we'll have a lot of time to work out many of the bugs. It's a pilot. It's one of the reasons you'll be receiving the significant discount that you will be receiving is because we need families who are really, really excited about this and who will work through the bumps with us as we have them. And there will be some as we get started. We have an incredible team of developers on this, former founders of Ancestry and other My Family and various learning platforms. They've already built them. And so we have every confidence in the people that are developing these. And so there'll be a new update on this site every single week. Well, actually every 2 weeks, indefinitely. Version 1 will launch in August. Version 1.1 will launch 2 weeks later, 1.2 and so on until about February, and we'll stop releasing anything except for bug fixes until we release version 2 the following fall. And that's kind of how the development cycle will go. The first thing a student does when they come to their, well, I don't know what the first thing is, but I guess the most significant, the most common thing that is behavior that a student will have on this site will be to access one of two things. They're either accessing their lesson of the day or they're accessing their class of the day. This is the new experience for any family, whether they've been a part of family school and Power Hour before. This is something that's new. Every day at 9 o'clock, the lesson will drop for the day. This is all by design, intended to encourage students to go together with the rest of their class. Now, up to this point, students have accessed family school. They've watched a movie, a video of a teacher sharing a lesson, the research and the reason and relate of that lesson, and the record, frankly, and they watch that independently from home. We want independent study or independent learning to be a thing of the past. At no point ever in LiftEd does a student have to learn alone. Even when they're learning content, they can be connected. And this is their experience. They log in, they access their lesson of the day at the time that it's available. If it's not available at that time, then let me make this full screen so you can see a little bit better. There's a little countdown on that calendar and it'll show them the lesson will be dropped in 4 minutes and 52 seconds, whatever it is. And once that time hits, then they'll come into this lesson and they'll click on the first stop, which is the review game, and their cameras will be on. Actually, I don't know if their cameras will be on in version 1, but it'll be there in 1.1 or 1.2. So if it might be a month into, otherwise it will just be a picture of them. But this is the experience that they'll have very, very soon. They'll have another countdown that shows them when the quiz starts. And so just like kids getting together and going to class, they'll be chatting and talking about whatever's happened that day, or what are the things kids chat about when they go to class. And just like a teacher who says, all right, it's time to get started, everybody have a seat, the quiz will start and they'll go through this experience that looks very familiar to one that they've been having that they love. Anybody who's been a part of Power Hour knows that the kids, they love Kahoot. And we're building our own version of Kahoot with some improvements to Kahoot. They'll go through that, a lot of different kinds of questions in our version, which is just tremendous, which is really exciting to think that we're building a tool that will surpass Kahoot in its functionality and its ability to connect students. namely their video cameras are on before they start that experience. There will be a champion crowned and points awarded on the system for that particular student, and then they'll carry on. So that'll be that. It won't be more than it needs to be, but it'll be a really fun way to start that learning experience that day. Again, this is not class, right? This is study group. We call this I don't know, we might call it the My Path study group, because there's a lot of ability for them to go different directions on this path. And I'll show you here in just a little bit. They get into the research video and they watch a video, expertly crafted, produced video of a teacher from our studio, from the studio I just showed you. And they go through this, and at some points in this experience, they have little knowledge checks, and these are all leveled. So based on the level of the student, they'll have an experience at level 1, which is at a kindergarten, first grade level. They'll have if they want the level 2 experience, then they'll be able, as a parent, you'll be able to mark in your student's profile what level you want them to be seeing. Level 2 is 2nd through 4th grade. Level 3 is 5th through 8th grade. And those are the 3 levels of content that we're producing, so that we can really appeal and speak and connect with the student at their level while they're learning independently, not so independently, but learning this way. They go through these knowledge checks. Eventually, they finish the research experience. Well, actually, this is another point that I forgot to mention. During every research, at least once, possibly more than once, they'll be presented with additional content that they can go explore and they can deeper dive. It might be a video that they watch. It might be just some content that they read if they're older and it's level 3 or level 2. They might stop and do an activity or craft. They might be asked a question and record a response. This is all part of a future plan to create an actual path. Potentially, these are called hotspot interactions, but these aren't required. They could just skip the whole thing. But if they complete these, they'll receive extra points. And so there is an element of ed tech incentivization, incentives and motivation built into this. Not excessively, but to the extent that we feel is helpful for students, that parents can evaluate how ambitious they are being in their learning, how much they're exploring. But as they explore in these optional modules, they'll receive points. They come back to that, and eventually they finish. And as they finish this map, this is the kind of the first version of this experience. It'll get a lot more involved as time goes on, but you can see that they become green as they finish, and the background image starts to color in. The third stop on the map, you know it, it's the bridge to the spiritual. So we have the academics, and then we bridge to the character, or to the value that we're connecting, or to the principle of faith that we're connecting to this academic concept that we just studied. If it's symbiosis, then clearly we're going to connect that to the relationship that we have with each other. We talked about the relationship that animals have on each other. Now let's talk about us. We have relationships with each other too, and some of those aren't so good. They're kind of parasitic, right? And others are really good, and they're mutualistic. What does a mutualistic friendship look like to you? And how can you be a mutualistic friend? And these are the kinds of things that are explored by this crowdsourced video of someone of their faith. This is, again, there's so many things that are exciting about LiftEd and how it will connect children to each other, to other students, to their family, and to their faith. But this is something it's just exceptional to think that students could be presented now with a video that connects with their faith. And if we build it, well, we're building it in a way that it will allow any family, any parent, any religious leader, any grandparent, right, of any faith, to produce their faith, the version for their faith. And you can just see this is illustrated here. This is not a website, by the way. This is called a Figma prototype. And so there's nothing, I can't send this to you and you play around with it yet. This is all in production. It's just a mock-up of the site. But if it's a Jewish student, then they're going to see this video right there, and they're going to see these other versions over here, if the parent's okay with it. Now, the parent could toggle all those faiths off so they only see the Jewish version. But for my children, I would love them to see what the Jewish faith, how the Jewish faith connects, how a Jewish man or woman will connect this principle of choosing friends wisely or being a good friend to the content. And same with Muslims, and same with Buddhists, and same with Protestants and other Christian faiths. But the system is being designed to allow a student to do that. Whether a parent allows them to see that is really of course up to the parent. Okay, watch this video again. And actually, this is an opportunity where the student is given a question by the teacher, and they're invited to share a response. Well, we do that all the time in online instruction, but how many times does the children really get to respond? And how many times does their response get to be shared with other students online? Never. It doesn't exist. This technology is technology that exists. We find this in Marco Polo. There's an app called Volley. Some of you are familiar with some of these applications where you can volley back and forth through videos. Well, we're building that into this platform so a student can actually record a response to this question, submit it, and see other students' responses, watch them, give a thumbs up, make a comment back, even volley a video back eventually to that student. So again, lots of asynchronous communication going on between these students who are at different points on this path. Some of them are right there, but others have already gone forward and some of them are behind them. Anyway, that's going to be a really fun way to connect them with the other students in this study group without having to pay a teacher, right? Now, importantly, you see a picture right up here. That's mom of the day. So we're going to have a calendar where parents are not just encouraged, but required to be the parent on duty for that class a couple times a year. Nothing overwhelming, but every day we want a parent to be there. And if a student has a question, they can click on the parent who's attending. And if they have a question, that parent's video camera will pop open, the student's camera will pop open, and they'll be in a little meeting room and they can work with each other and help each other if there's any problems. All right, they finish that and they move on to this last, well, I say last because this is the quiz and this is the record assignment, but this is the last place where we really connect with each other. It's called the golden envelope, and it's easily the thing that most families are most excited about than any of the other tools and any other features of this learning path, is the ability for a parent to contribute to that student's content like they do in homeschooling every day, right? But now it's in the moments. And so we know that this lesson about symbiosis is coming up. And because of that, we can send mom and dad, and then mom and dad can forward this text on to grandma and grandpa or a friend. We can send them a prompt that just says, hey, we're going to be studying symbiosis and we're going to be talking about our relationships in this reason and relate section. We'd love to hear a story of yours when you had a friend that was especially mutualistic or beneficial to you or parasitic and harmful to you, that you could share with whatever the name of their child is, Olivia, Jacob. And the mom literally clicks on a link on their phone, or if they forwarded it on to a grandparent, same thing. It's as simple as clicking on the link, reading the prompt, and then pressing record on their phone. It pulls their camera up right on their device, whether it's an iPad or they receive it on a computer or they receive it on their cell phone. It opens automatically their camera. They record a response. They press upload, or they can re-record it if they didn't want to re-record it. And as soon as they press upload, within seconds, it appears into this platform as a response, as a message from a secret admirer. They don't know, but when they see that golden envelope on their path, they know somebody left a message for me. If they don't see it, then it means nobody left a message. And we won't always do this. We won't hit parents every day with an opportunity to share. We might, or actually, we actually will produce the prompts for every lesson, but a parent will decide how often they want to receive the prompts. So if they want to receive the prompts every third day, then they can set it up that way every other day. If they want it every day, at least the opportunities to see it, then they'll receive a text every single day that just tells them what the prompt is for that day. And then when they're waiting for Bobby at soccer practice, or they're in the group in the line at Walmart, or wherever they're at where they have a few minutes, now they can be that homeschool parent still and contribute some meaningful content to that learning experience for that student. That student can volley right back to them with a video. Thanks, Mom, for your message. Thanks, Grandma or Grandpa. Anyway, very, very exciting tool there that, again, connects the hearts of children with their fathers, the hearts of the fathers with the children. It's this beautiful fulfillment of that principle that is so important to us, that we don't remove parents. In fact, we include parents and grandparents and neighbors and friends, and whoever wants to support that child can be a part of that path for them that day. There's a quiz. This quiz will be a lot more fun eventually, but right now it's just a kind of a standard quiz. This is a summative quiz, so we have the formative quiz questions throughout, and then we have the summative quiz at the end. If they want to retake it, they can. If parents say that they can retake it, if parents don't want them to retake the quiz and they want to see how they do first time, then they can change that in their settings. They can view their answers. It'll serve them up another 5 questions for the next quiz. We have loads and loads of questions that we're producing for each lesson, so they can take those quizzes several times if they want to get 100%, right? Lastly is the record assignment activity. This is going to change significantly based on some new objectives and new ideas around how to develop why and how to produce production-based, project-based activities that and assignments and projects that we feel the students will be a lot more motivated to participate in. Then they'll follow up and join their class. And that's the end of this experience. Let's see how I get out of here. They finish the lesson. Oh, they record a response. They record what they did, right? This is another opportunity for them to leave a message or leave a video of the assignment or the activity that they completed. And the other students, same way, can see what they did and learn from them. This is the whole reteaching component of learning. That's so important, so valuable. They finish the lesson. They earn a certain number of points. They earn 10 bonus points for doing some exploring. They can record another video and get, if they want to do the other record activity, they can get another 20 points. But at some point they're finished, and now they're back here to their dashboard and they're ready for class. So they have that experience with the content. That's the flipped class philosophy, is that they can learn so well independently. They can learn even better when they're learning with other students in this digital environment. And then they're prepared to go to class. Class for us is not a teacher teaching. It is Coach Nate, right? It's Coach Jordan and all of the coaches that you've had this year that are diving deeper, that are doing activities, that are playing games, that are doing competitions, that are working on projects together and doing activities. That's what class is to us, because they've learned. All the students will be encouraged to go together and learn together if we present it this way. So 9 o'clock for every student, regardless of where they're at 9 o'clock on the East Coast, lessons will drop for them. Central time, 9 o'clock, lessons will drop. Mountain time, Pacific time, those are the 4 time zones we're going to support this year in our pilot. So if you're in that one of those time zones, your lesson is going to drop at 9 o'clock, and then your class is always going to be at 10 o'clock. It's not showing it correctly here. So they'll have an hour to explore. It's probably more like a 30 to 35 minute experience exploring and learning. They could make it a lot more by, based on the assignments that they complete and the work that they do, but then class starts. And that gets us into, I'm not going to, because of time, I'm not going to talk about the parent dashboard. Some things we're just going to have to save, and you're going to have to experience it at a later date. Maybe we'll do another webinar, but I definitely want to leave enough time for Nate to talk about Power Hour and some of the significant improvements coming to Power Hour. LiftEd is not the only improvement. We're making some big strides to improve the experience that students have when they're live together in that Power Hour class. So Nate, I'll pull up I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint again, and I'll just walk through this as you share with them some of the improvements that we're excited about related to Power Hour.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Peter. Guys, I'm so excited to be here. For any of my students that I know and love that are here with your parents, hello. It's good to see you. I saw a few people message in the chat. I'm really excited about Power Hour next year. We're going to be calling it Power Hour Plus because it's going to be better than regular Power Hour in several key ways. These are the different improvements that we're going to be making. Peter's already kind of touched on some of these a little bit, but yes, you'll be grouped by geography, which for some people means that you'll have students that live close enough to hang out with on Fridays, which will be even more possible with our 4-day-a-week schedule, typically Monday through Thursday. And that proximity is only going to be better and better and better every year as we have more and more people join LiftEd and Power Hour Plus. It's kind of a duo thing that you get together. But yeah, the more people we have each year, the more people you'll have living close to you that you can get together with in person. And so we're really excited about grouping it by geography. Smaller class sizes. We've decided to make the class sizes a little bit smaller. When I was a coach last year with Coach Jordan, there was like 100 students that were registered for each of the classes. The goal for this coming year is to make it 50 to 75. And there'll be even fewer screens than that since we've got siblings hopping on together on the same camera, right? So that's a positive thing because it's going to help students be able to connect to each other a little bit easier. They may not feel quite as intimidated to raise their hand and speak up with fewer peers watching, as well as there's a more of an intimate, tight-knit kind of a group feel. And we're also hoping that helps the coaches be able to help every student feel seen and heard and appreciated, since there's a fewer number there to focus on. So we're excited about that. Early and upper elementary groups is something that we've been seriously considering, especially after talking to Mike Madsen a little bit about kind of the developmental shift that happens around the age of accountability. We did want to do a poll really quick to see what your thoughts were on that. I think Kristen might need to launch that since she's the one that's the host. Is that right, Peter?
I think I just launched it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, there are 3. Go ahead and continue sharing, Nate, because
Okay.
some of the poll questions deal with some of the other things that you haven't touched on yet, and they can just
Okay.
go ahead and,
Great.
I'll just leave the poll open while you're talking.
Okay, sounds good. So a simplified schedule. Peter covered that a little bit. Their lesson will drop at 9, and then they'll have up to an hour to be able to do their LiftEd study group lesson. And then right at 10 a.m., regardless of your time zone within those 4 that he mentioned, Power Hour Plus will start. And like we said, we'll be grouping by geography. So there'll be a group for the Eastern, the Central, the Mountain, and the Pacific. As they hop on LiftEd, there'll be 3 different learning levels. And so that'll be really cool to be able to tailor their learning experience to those 3 different learning levels. When it comes to Power Hour Plus, like I said, we're considering dividing that into 2 different groups, depending on your feedback. So that's something we're considering, but it also simplifies the schedule to be able to say 9 a.m. for everyone, 10 a.m. for everyone, for LiftEd and for Power Hour Plus. And then finally, we'll be investing more in our coaches. We understand that in order to improve the experience of your students, we need to make sure we're looking back to improving the coaching experience of the coaches. And we kind of feel like we're in the middle of the Goldilocks fairy tale here, because when I was a coach last year, Coach Jordan and I each had 5 classes every day, and we got burnt out. We loved it to death. We wouldn't have changed it for the world, but by the end of the year, we were just kind of zonked. And this year, our coaches have each just had 1 power hour per day. And it just hasn't felt like the level of commitment is quite as high as we would like. And so we've now tried Papa Bear and Mama Bear stuff. We're gonna next year jump into Baby Bear's stuff, the just right amount of power hours for coaches, and we're gonna shoot for 3 power hours per day per learning coach. And so we're excited about that. I'm excited with the new training schedule I'm going to have for these coaches. They're going to be lesson prepping together so that they can share each other's great ideas, as well as they're going to be helping plan the special events and putting those on. So a lot of fun improvements coming up with that. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I'm feeling good about the direction we're headed there.
That's awesome, Nate. Thank you. Thank you. We are very, very excited about what we're moving forward to do in Power Hour. And I think the most significant improvement is Nate, and he's not going to tell you that, but he is having huge impacts already. We're all so grateful for him and the way that he's supporting your students in that experience. That's his title, Student Experience Manager, and he's doing a fantastic job of it. Now for the results, this is really interesting. I love these results because you don't even know what the price is yet, and many of you are okay, loving it. I'm going to show you that right now. I didn't realize that I asked that question before I would be telling you what it would cost. How do you feel about splitting Power Hour into 2 age levels? That's something that we didn't know for sure, but it looks very conclusive that that you love that idea. And we love the idea too. We feel like we can do things with those ranges that will be much more effective for those learners, and they'll have a much better experience. How do you feel about simplified schedule? Good. We were hopeful that you would be supportive of that as well. Of course, it wouldn't have to be that way, but and there will be opportunities for families to request manual adjustments, so they can be, with a friend in Colorado if they live in Virginia or something like that. But that'll just be on a case-by-case basis. The last one was, how do you feel about the higher cost of Power Hour to reduce class size and invest in strong coaching? That's another thing that we really hoped that you would be supportive of. And obviously here, you're not as sure about that one. And you're probably not as sure because you don't know what it'll cost. For most of you, it's not going to cost much more at all. And we'll get to that right now. But we do feel like we need to invest in our coaches. We do feel like we need to lower the class size to make it a good experience for everybody. And we feel like we can do that within a range that is more than affordable for every family. Okay, let's move on. I just had to show you this quick clip, even though we don't have a lot of time.
I feel very happy.
You feel really happy?
And yeah, and I'm so happy that I'm just crying happy tears.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
I love you, Jason.
Oh, I love you too.
You've got to love that. Those kids, they do love their coaches, and those coaches love those kids. And what Nate was just sharing about investing in our coaches has a lot to do with that. We want coaches to feel like this is more than a job to them. It's certainly more than a side job to them. And so we feel like we have the right strategy there. It will cost a little bit more, but I think all will feel like that was a wise investment. Okay, now the details that you're probably really wanting is, what does this mean for me in terms of what do I get to be a founding family in this pilot year of LiftEd? For the 2022-23 school year, you'll receive a discount. That discount, you're going to keep it for the life of that account. So it's not just a discount for this year, it's a discount for every year. Why would we do that? Well, we're doing it because we want to create an army of ambassadors. We're limiting enrollment to 1,000. That sounds like a lot, but we already have 700 students in Power Hour right now. So there won't be a lot of room to add new students. We're hoping that many of our existing students and existing families and former and free families can be a part of that, but it will cap at some point. If we build it on LiftEd, you'll get it. What I mean by that is courses, not service. So we're going to add more services. We'll probably have a math and language arts class specifically next year. Of course, that would be an add-on to what we're talking about, but math won't, language arts won't. All these growth courses that we're talking about and every other course that we're producing on LiftEd, you'll always receive those as part of your membership. You're technically kind of grandfathered in. They use that term a lot in these kinds of services where you have a piece of software that's growing and expanding significantly over time. They chop it up into these pro account down to basic accounts, right? And you'll pay different levels. Well, what I'm telling you is you are a pro, whatever that top level is of that service, as we segment it in the future, and we likely will, because some families won't be interested in some features, other families are, and so we'll build a tiered program, a tiered pricing model for LiftEd. This year, you'll receive it all, and every year. So version 1, 2, 3, 100, that'll be part of your account. Content and class. This is how it's priced. So content is the study group. Now you know what that is, what that experience is. It's $39 a month, regular price. That's an hour a day, 20 hours. You're paying $2 a month, $2 a lesson per month for access to that kind of an experience. Now it's independent, right? We're not paying a coach there, so we can be pretty aggressive with that price. And we will be very aggressive in other countries, in third world countries especially. Some students might pay $2 a month. But here in the United States, we'll be paying, members will be paying $39 a month to access LiftEd. Then if they want to add Power Hour to that, they'll pay $49 a month. Again, it's more than what current families are paying. But once you factor in the discount, it's not too much more. This is how it's going to shake out. Lifetime members and monthly members are going to go together. Lifetime members receive the most significant discount because they've invested the most into family school. And we want them to feel like their membership in family school isn't devalued by what we're launching right now. So it's important to us to offer lifetime members a more significant discount. You can buy a lifetime membership if you'd like to in the next 5 or so days and have that same discount. That's fine. If you want to invest the same that they've invested, then we're more than welcome to give you the same discount. It won't work the same for monthly members. So if you're a monthly member right now, you'll receive a 65% discount. If you're a lifetime member, you'll receive a 75% discount. That's both of those services. So 39 plus 49 is 88, 75% of 88 is 22, 65% of 88 is 3080, and so on. Former members and free members, they'll be treated the same as well. So a former member who had the service and is not using it right now, but wants to try LiftEd, will receive a 50% discount. Again, they can purchase a lifetime membership if they want to and receive a 75% discount. It's also spring open enrollment right now. So for the month of May, we always have spring open enrollment. So everything that all our monthly and lifetime memberships on Family School, if you go to familyschoolonline.org, you can see that the prices are 30% off. And that's what a new member would pay. That's their discount. So a new member would be at 30% unless they pay for a lifetime membership. Okay, I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. All this information is being recorded. And so we'll share this on the lifted.world landing page. You'll have this graph and many of the other infographics that have been included in this presentation will be there. And so you can review them from lifted.world. You can rewatch the webinar and see them here as well. This is just a quick summary of what a pilot family, what a founding family will receive for 2020, 2023, 2022, 23, 20 hours a month, Monday through Thursday, leveled study group, Monday through Thursday, leveled class, another 20 hours, 40 hours of education, of supported, connected education. One of them is a live class and the other is a study group. They'll have history, science, world studies, and these growth courses. Complimentary access to family school. So every family will have complimentary access to family school who's on LiftEd. Some of you have lifetime memberships, so it's not a big deal. You already have it. Others of you who are monthly will have free access to family school. Priority enrollment for youth in the summer retreat. That's a big deal. That was a hit last year and it's going to sell out fast this year, I'm sure. Our promises to LiftEd founding families, in summary, you see them there again. We talked about them. You can go back and review them. They'll be on the webpage as well. Here's the retreat. Nate and Kristen, did you guys want to share some information about this retreat quickly?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah. So last year was our first summer youth retreat. Like Peter said, it was a hit. In fact, we sold out. We've heard from students and parents already. When's registration opening? We want to make sure we get in this next year. And so we hear you and we know you're anxious to register. Registration is actually now open. Nate can share a little bit more about that, but it's going to be even better than last. We're starting a half day earlier. There will be some things we continue that were really popular, like Dr. Pablo's Argentine barbecue. Our students really loved the group testimony and share. And so the way we're going to do that is kind of in priority registration. So current Power Hour AHS Online students, 12 and up, will get to register first. Also any new LiftEd students, 12 and up, next. And then we'll go to on-campus students at our 2 campuses, American Fork and Salt Lake. I imagine we'll probably be full. We're going to cap it at 200 students this summer. So just putting that on your radar. Nate can talk a little bit more about exciting things coming up.
All right, awesome. I guess first off, I would love to invite you to check out the schedule for this. Been working on it like crazy for the last little bit, and you can find that on that website of the image that was being shared. There we go, the very bottom, that website. If you go there, you can find the schedule, you can find the registration page. I've been working on some pictures from last year to upload as well. But as far as the schedule goes, a couple of big things I'm excited for is we're going to get a personal tour from the artist of the Light of the World exhibit at Ashton Gardens. And if you haven't heard of that, what it is even bigger than life-size bronze sculptures of scenes of the New Testament, as well as a few other scenes like the First Vision that they've got in these gorgeous gardens where they hold the Tulip Festival every year. So we're going to be getting a private tour from the artist herself of that as part of our summer retreat on the second full day. Kind of in preparation for the testimony meetings that night. We want this to not only be a crazy fun time while they're here at the retreat, but also a spiritually impactful time where they feel like their testimonies can grow. And yeah, so that's one of the big things. We're also going to be jumping into the Thanksgiving Point Museum of Natural Curiosity, where they've got my favorite thing ever. It's like a giant McDonald's play place. It's like 4 levels and adults can go in it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about our day up at the reservoir with paddle boards and those giant pads that you can run across that don't sink. Tons of good food as always and phenomenal speakers. Can't wait. It'll be awesome.
Can I just say one other thing? Well, first of all, thank everyone for being so just active in the chat. Y'all are having some amazing questions. We, just out of respect for your time, we will shift this after we wrap up this hour to have a verbal question and answer. So please hang in there if your question hasn't been answered on the chat. Nate, would you mind putting your email in the chat also? I'm seeing some questions about the retreat that maybe they can just email you directly.
Sure, yeah, I can do that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kristen and Nate. I'm going to turn some time over, but quickly, April, to talk. She's going to talk about this unit studies and cross-curricular studies approaches. They're two new approaches that are different from how we organize content with the family school, and they're really popular ideas. We've done a lot more work and research into these two concepts, these two ideas, and we want to implement them in LiftEd. So go ahead, April.
Sure, thank you so much. I am super excited about this coming fall, and if Peter will advance this, I think if you advance your presentation, let's first talk about unit studies. So we are taking a unit studies approach.
April, do you not see the slide that says 2 new approaches?
It just says youth retreat.
Oh, interesting.
Can everybody else see?
Let me just stop it and I'll share again. Maybe there's something.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a unit studies approach this year. And what that means is that instead of spending Monday on music, or our Tuesday was, I should have the schedule memorized by now, I think it was history, and Wednesday was a different class, and Thursday was a different class. What we're going to do this year is we are going to,
sorry,
yeah, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to spend 2 weeks on one content area. So we will spend 2 weeks studying one science topic. So what that will look like is we'll start, our first science unit will be botany, and we'll have class Monday through Thursday for 2 weeks. And dang it, there goes that.
We are at a school, so.
Yeah, I'll just try and talk over them because I want to not waste time. But so we'll spend 2 weeks studying the same science topic. All of the lessons will revolve around botany, and we will have all of the record assignments will be focused on that botany lesson. Then we'll switch. The next 2 weeks, we'll do something else like history, and then we'll have 2 weeks focusing on our new world studies course. So the world studies course is new, and then we'll have our growth courses. So we'll rotate through those every 2 weeks. So you can see how this is broken out. We'll actually start with growth. We'll start with a really great leadership course for 2 weeks, and then we'll do 2 weeks in Africa, studying about life there, and we'll have, it'll be from the perspective of children and youth living in the area. And that will prep us for 2 weeks in history. So the world studies area always focuses on the area that we're going to be studying in history. So ancient civilizations will have 8 lessons there, and then we'll go to botany, and then we'll jump back and we'll do 2 weeks in health. This way we can all focus on just diving deep and have a real good depth of content. And then we'll also try and increase the breadth over the course of the year by not staying in one time period, like doing all ancient civilizations. We're going to be jumping forward in time. So every year we're moving forward. So the family schools content right now is actually on a 6-year scope and sequence, and we're reducing that to a 4-year scope and sequence so that a student who starts with us in 1st grade and goes with us through 8th grade can get through everything twice. Otherwise, if you join us in 2nd grade and we just did zoology, you may not get that again. Your child may not get to have that content again before they leave the family school program. So that's one of the things we're adjusting over in LiftEd.
Can I just add that that's one of the primary reasons that that's one of the benefits of a unit approach, is that students get to go deep across multiple topics within a subject, so that they're not just spending the entire year with ancient civilizations. They get a piece. They get to go deep into ancient civilizations for 2 weeks, and then they get to go deep into Rome and the New World for 2 weeks, and then deep into revolution and change in modern times. The next year, we're going to do the same thing. So they're going to get a taste of each of these time periods and many sciences and many continents. Each year, every year, they'll actually come back to that in many cases. Now in world studies, we have, more than 4 continents to be studying, more than we had it framed in a 6-year scope and sequence before. So we won't touch it every year, but they certainly will get it every other year, right?
Yeah.
Which is much better than what we currently do.
Yeah. So it'll increase our breadth. We'll be able to cover more, but we'll be able to go deeper because we're going to focus on that one area for 2 weeks. Now, what is over on the family school will stay in that 6-year scope and sequence, but we have put together a new scope and sequence that if you go to lifted.world and you scroll down to the bottom, you can actually access a rough draft. I'm going to emphasize that, a rough draft of the scope and sequence for this coming year. You'll also notice that some sections are blank as far as like what we'll be focusing on for that term. We're still building this out. We're still working on getting that curriculum ready. Anything new we create, like for world studies, that will be put on the family school site. And it will be available for our families there as they would like to use it as a parent-led resource. Also at the bottom of LiftEd World is the class schedule. Oh yeah. You can look at the class schedule and it has when class starts. And you can see that we do Foundations Week is the week 0, and then we jump right into growth in August. And all of the holiday breaks are on here. And all of our classes are Monday through Thursday, except for 2 weeks when we have a Monday holiday, which is Labor Day and Martin Luther King Day. That week we'll go Tuesday through Friday, so that we can kind of keep that 2-week track together. So this schedule is also available there. So you'll be able to see exactly what content we'll be teaching and plan accordingly. This also allows for Fridays. This is our scope and sequence. And I do want to state again that it is a rough draft. Things are always subject to change. This allows for Fridays for the opportunity for you as families to get together. I am so grateful for the feedback on the record assignments that I have read in the chat. And I have actually been feeling that way as well. I've had several conversations with Nate, and we are working to improve that experience for your children in creating more meaningful opportunities for them to show what they're learning. And these new opportunities will be a great thing to get together on Fridays with people that live to you. That's one of the great things about being grouped together geographically with others, so that you can get together and you can share what your children have done and they can meet in person. Makes it very exciting. So just a very brief overview of our curriculum changes.
Yeah, that's fantastic, April. Thank you. I hope, I should have started that poll while you were talking, because I would love to hear how you feel about those two new learning approaches. So if you have a chance while we're wrapping up here, just to answer these questions, we'd love to know how you feel about these as well. That's as far as we're going to go. I was going to show some slides for math and language arts for AHS Online, but we're doing a webinar 2 weeks from today, same time, 10 o'clock, where we're going to focus and go really deep into the K-8 math and language arts programs that are coming. Again, those will be piloted in family school for free for any family who wants them for free. And if you pilot them with us, then we'll give them to you in that parent-led form forever on family school. As long as you're a member of family school, we will bring that content onto LiftEd the following year, and you'll have to be a LiftEd family or student to access the student facilitated version of that parent facilitated content. So that's all I'll share about math and language arts today, unless you want to stick around for questions now. We've gone over our hour that we told you we would be presenting, but there was a lot of content, and I hope it was helpful. I've been looking at the number of people and it hasn't dropped too much. So I hope that means, I hope that's a good indication that you appreciated that information. Now we're going to, well, actually, can I just share one last slide? And then it'll just be Q&A for until noon, at which point we'll need to wrap up. Because I know a lot of us have other plans and meetings that we need to get to. Okay, let's see here. Let me go back to this, and I just want to share this last thought with you. Kind of bring it back to why we do this, the mission of the school, clearly. But I was watching conference, and this quote from President Nelson stood out to me so much that I actually shared it on social. So some of you may have already seen that from what I shared in the shared there. But I wanted to just touch on one thing that I didn't mention on social, because you have to be really concise, right? Thus, the antidote to Satan's scheme is clear. He was talking about how testimonies can be shaken easily, and children can lose them. We can lose them if we're not working at strengthening them. And he said, thus the antidote to Satan's scheme is clear. We need daily experiences, worshiping the Lord and studying his gospel. As soon as he said that, I thought, certainly we do that in many ways in our homes. And yeah, you don't have to have American Heritage School to do that. I know that's true. But if Satan's quadrupling his efforts, which he also said in a previous conference, and we continue to hear messages like this from our prophet, it does make you wonder and ask this question. And this really stood out to me. I plead with you to let God prevail in your life. Give him a fair share of your time. As you do, notice what happens to your positive spiritual momentum, or the momentum in your home, or the momentum in spiritual momentum of your children. And it really stood out to me. What is that fair share? For many families, for most families, they send their children to public school for 7 hours a day, and then they have extracurriculars for several hours a day, and some homework, and I don't know. Again, each family and each individual can answer that question for themselves. But it certainly can't hurt, right, to make connections to the gospel in their academic experience each day, studying his gospel. And I thought of all of you, all of these family school families that have been with us for 10 years, and why they do that, why they sacrifice that way. Well, I think it's because they want to give him a little more time. They want to worship the Lord and study his gospel, even, and perhaps especially when they're learning about science, when they're learning about geography, when they're learning about history, being able to learn those things in context of the gospel and see his hand of providence in history, and his hand of providence in the continents of the earth, and his hand in the creation of all things. So I just applaud you. So grateful that we're where we are today, that we get to be working on this, this new step for American Heritage School and the worldwide outreach to make this more possible for families, more simple for families that that just can't take the step that you've taken. You've done it. So many families, a multiple of 10, 20x, the statistics show 20 times the number of people who homeschool highly consider homeschooling, but just don't do it. And why don't they do it? They don't do it because it's just too hard. And it's not that they don't feel inspired to do it. They just can't do it because they don't have a solution that makes it possible for them. So thank you for what you're doing. You are going to be the pioneers for these families that are coming, and many, many are coming. I believe that with all my heart. I have since I started working here at the school and helping the school to develop this worldwide outreach. And we all feel that way on this team, that it's coming. And we planted this tree and it's growing, and it's going to provide shade for these families when they need it. And not a day too soon, and hopefully not a day too late. Anyway, thank you for being here. You're welcome to jump off now, or you can stick around and we're just going to answer your questions. So Kristen's going to go ahead and unmute, and I'll share with you these results if you're interested to see the results of this last poll that you just did. And feel free to I know there are a lot of people on still, so we all are pretty familiar with Zoom etiquette at this point. So we'll just take them as we can get them, and we'll stay on and chat so you can ask questions there as well, and we'll just stay with you until noon Mountain Time.
Okay, everybody should be able to unmute themselves right now.
I had a question about like, we have a homeschool group that meets on Mondays and it's all day. So if we can't be to the Monday class, what is that?
Don't show it on me.
How would that work? And would it be worth it to do this every Monday?
You might just shift your whole week. You might, if you're in a group, that's a great question. If you have a group already and you want to create your own LiftEd Family Education Center group, then it's another like whole curriculum. So it's totally different. It's already like populated. So does that make sense? Yeah, for sure. So you would just, the lesson's going to drop the same day. You would just maybe do it Tuesday through Friday, or do 2 lessons on Tuesday and 1 on Wednesday and Thursday. So the content would be available.
So it wouldn't, besides missing the actual class, they could still do that lessons like Monday. We could do our Monday lessons on Friday. We just wouldn't have the class.
That's right. That course will build throughout the year. So you can go back at any time and review a lesson that you've already participated in or maybe missed. You go on vacation, and yeah, absolutely. So you won't lose the ability to, you won't be able to do it at your own pace. You'll have to wait for our pace.
Right.
Is all. Yeah.
Okay. That helps. Thank you.
Hey, Natalie Hess.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to piece together the different options here. So I've had students doing just the power hour for younger kids, and then I've got a student who's doing the middle high school power hour, and that is combined with the AHS program, but it's unaccredited, where
he's an audit student
is and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just trying to piece together here. Is the LiftEd replacing power hour? Is power hour still going to be around? Is it separate? And the cost as well, is the price that you specified for LiftEd, is that in addition to what we're paying right now, or does that replace what we're paying for power hour currently?
Yeah, so the power hour, as you know it, is going away, and Power Hour Plus is coming. That's what we call it on LiftEd, Power Hour Plus. And so it's the same experience where you get together with students in a class environment who've prepared by learning content before class. That content is available just like you were currently paying for family school, and then you were adding on Power Hour. Now you're not paying for family school and you're not adding on, you're just receiving the Power Hour Plus class. So you'll access your content with one membership, and you will, and this is the price, you can see the price right now. You'll access the content on LiftEd for $39 a month. Plus, if they want class, it's $49. So it's $88 a month that's the regular price. Now, based on what you told me, you will receive either a 65% discount or a 75% discount. So you'll now be paying $30.80 per student, as opposed to whatever you're paying right now for both of those services. Yeah, it's a good question. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Natalie?
Yeah, so I think so. So you're saying that the cost, so like I'm a lifetime member, so it would just replace what I'm paying for the Power Hour.
Hey, where's the wheel for this Honda?
What about the
Why is it not in the trunk?
what about for my older student who's doing the middle high school Power Hour? If I switch him over, then is he not able to join the classes with, Dr. Pablo and Mr. Hammond and those teachers for the unaccredited?
So middle school will have two options. They can sign up for LiftEd, and they can be a part of that level 3 class. April, correct me if I'm wrong, or they can participate in. Go ahead, April. You answer.
I think that this is very confusing for those of you who have been in the middle school. I'm going to call it the middle school audit instead of the middle school Power Hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you were with Dr. Pablo this year in 7th or 8th grade doing the middle school audit, those who are in 8th grade will obviously graduate out of that audit program. You'll have to go to the full tuition program if you want to stay with HS Online. For those of you that have 7th graders in that program and you would like to continue with Dr. Pablo next year auditing, that's something you will need to reach out to him about, because those courses will be different than what we're doing on LiftEd. They will follow a different scope and sequence, and they will have a different course offering. And so if you want your middle school students to do the same content as your younger students, you will have to have them in LiftEd. The middle school content for this coming year will not be the same content that is on LiftEd this fall. And we're hoping that we can move the middle school next fall out of Canvas and bring everybody over into LiftEd, but we have to have certain features developed, like a grade book and certain things like that, before we can move the full tuition and the credit for credit program over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so this year they'll have both options. Basically, next year they won't, likely. It'll be, and then the following year, our entire K-12 program will be in LiftEd. That's kind of the path that we're on right now. Our hope is that we can develop the LiftEd service to a point where we can move our entire K-12 experience into LiftEd. Whether that's in 2 years or 3 years, we don't know, but that's the goal.
Peter,
Mhm.
we're having some questions just about how families can access their discount for registration. They're currently registering for LiftEd, and
Yeah.
maybe you can walk them through that just a little bit.
Good. Oh, yeah. Great question. I have the email prepared already. As soon as I finish this webinar, I'll send an email out to every lifetime and monthly member, current lifetime and monthly member that we have. And you'll receive that. You'll have 4 days to register before the next, actually, I think it's 5 days before the next group. And that all of our families, and just to give you an idea of the number, so we have about 1,500 families that will receive an email right now.
Really should be doing.
And then we have about 12,000 families that will receive an email in 5 days. These are former families, or they've signed up for a free membership and they access family school for free and get what the free membership provides. They'll receive that on the 9th. And then on the on the 12th. We'll send it. Then we'll just circulate an email to everybody saying, if you know of friends and family who are interested, we haven't capped that group yet. And actually, even if we get to 1,000 students within those first two groups, we're still going to have another 100 spots for students who are brand new. In this group of students, of these 1,000 students, we want at least a 10% of them or 100 of them to be students that have never homeschooled, that have never online schooled, that have never been with AHS, brand new students that we can work with and evaluate their experience. Their experience will be really important for us to understand, because we are building this for what we call a non-consumer. In business, you have consumers. If you're consumers and non-consumers, if you are homeschooling or online schooling or private schooling, you're a consumer of an alternative to public education. If you've never done that, you're a non-consumer of those alternatives. And so we want to evaluate the experience of both of those groups. And so even if we fill up with 1,000 students, we're still going to invite 100 students to be a part of this. We're brand new, maybe more information than you needed. And there are about 3.4 students per family, if that helps you too. 3.4 was the last survey that we did. So 1,500 families, 3.4 students per family. Of course, not every family is going to want to do this year, but it gives you an idea of some of the urgency without trying for this to sound like a sales pitch. It's not. We just want to make sure to have a really, really good experience for the students that are in it this year. We will scale it next year. There won't be a student who wants to have access to this next year who won't be able to do it. But this year there might be.
If we do sign up, do we need to sign up both kids separately? And then do we need to discontinue our current registrations, or will that automatically happen if we sign up for LiftEd?
Oh, great. We will end all of your, so if you sign up for, we talked about this. Now I'm starting to question what the idea was there. Molly, do you remember what our plan was? We were going to stop selling lifetime.
Where'd the go down?
Sure. So you won't even be able to buy a lifetime membership after this this priority enrollment occurs. And then
Actually, we were going to stop the lifetime on family school, but I don't know where it is since then. Just I don't know. We didn't.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to turn off lifetime memberships so that people only be able to sign up for a monthly membership on family school. And then I remember we were going to give James a batch of everybody who signed up and automatically turn their accounts off on the other side. Now you'll want family school until this fall, and you'll pay your first month. I didn't mention that as well. So you'll sign up. You can sign up your children together. You'll notice in the checkout that you can add a child and you can add their information and their birthday. You can add another child, so you can just keep doing that, and then you check out one time. We capture that information and then we pull that all into the LiftEd service when we launch that.
Peter, are we also going to stop everyone's power hour who has family school and has power hour? Are we going to stop that on the last day of power hour? Everybody just will automatically be taken off of power hour.
Yeah, that's right. So at the end of the year, all those will end, and their new LiftEd memberships will begin on July 1. You'll pay your first month when you check out today. And then on July 1, you'll pay another month, and every year it'll go like that. So if you're paying monthly, which is what we're providing right now, you're also agreeing to stay with us for 12 months. Right now, we don't have a contract. We don't have an agreement with you. But for us to do this and do it well and do it right, we have to have families committed to this for a year. So there's an annual price, and it'll be 10 months of the monthly price. Or there'll be the monthly price, which is what we showed you already. We have coaches regardless of whether you stay with Power Hour or not. And so that's the piece that we have to have a commitment. And this year, we want our students, our 1,000 students, to be all in. So class and study group. Whereas next year, we'll have tons of students that just want to come for that study group. It'll be substantial and connected, and and meaningful and more affordable, right? And maybe they don't want the class. Maybe they're going to do class in a family education center, or maybe they're going to do class with their parents at home, or maybe they just don't want the class. So they'll be able to sign up in future years for just the class, and then they'll add on the, just the content. They'll be able to sign up just for LiftEd content, that study group experience, and they'll add on class. But this year, we're just putting it together and giving a really significant discount and saying all of our students they're in both of those offerings this year.
Peter, could you confirm those who buy LiftEd will receive complimentary family school? Am I correct? So that they can have access to the math and language arts.
Yeah,
Okay.
Most of them right now already have it, because 2/3 of our families that are in Power Hour are lifetime members, so they have it, right? But everybody else and everybody who comes in the future, that'll be a benefit of LiftEd, is that they have access to the parent-led resources in the event they ever want to teach those lessons, or they want to print the content off and have their education storage. I know a lot of people like to print things off, and we're moving into a more digital world, but still it's nice to have something in their hands. And so Family School will always give them access to those kinds of resources.
Peter, can you see those who have their hand raised?
Oh yeah. Should I start just picking them off? Angela Zundell.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I'm sorry. I just really wanted to clarify. First of all, this is awesome. I'm really super excited, and I can't believe the amazing things that I can, because you guys are all amazing. So thank you for everything you do. But also for the high school, I have a couple of kids in the Power Hour unaccredited. So are they going to be ending that option and just going to, if they want to continue, they have to do like the accredited version? Is that kind of what it's moving toward right now?
No, LiftEd will have a middle school group, just like we did 2 years ago. And if they want to continue on with the same classes that the 4-credit students are taking with Dr. Pablo and the AHS online program, they'll have access to that too. For this year, they'll have 2 options. Next year, they'll all be in LiftEd. But
awesome.
It'll be your
Thank
choice.
you.
Yeah. And we should probably just send a query or survey out to all of our auditing students of the AHS online middle school program and ask them what they would prefer, so that families know what each other would prefer. So they kind of know where is this shifting? My students want to be with the other students. That's really what it comes down to, right? And so that information would probably be really helpful. We'll send a survey out to all of our audit students. Now that they know what both options look like, then they can decide, and then we can let them know, kind of where that's falling. Would that be helpful?
Perfect. Thank you.
Danette, you're welcome. Julie?
Sorry, I'm here. I was just working off the cell phone, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
So I had a question about the map. Is that going to be updated? So we're out east, and we know we have a couple of families here, but we would love to get together and do something here with them. But our map is outdated that was available. It doesn't.
What map are you referring to?
The member map.
Oh, the member map. Oh, yeah. Well, the member map. Yeah, we haven't. That member map, I didn't even know it was on James, is the member map on the new family school
up right now.
Is not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to have a map, and it will be a map that includes families, but perhaps more importantly, it'll have a different color of dot for every family education center, so families can see where those groups are starting to organize. And if they want to start a family education center, they can enroll in that program. We're a year out from that, but yeah, that member map will be a part of, it should be on Family School. And if it's not, we need to just put it back. It's just one of those tools that didn't make it from the last iteration of Family School over. And then of course, there'll be a similar kind of map that's more expansive to help families connect with family education centers on LiftEd.
That would be super. Thank you.
Is James here? James, are you here? Okay, let's go to Julie.
Hi, Peter. Just had a question about the math and language arts. How is that piece going to fit? Is that going live in the fall, and how does that fit in? Is there additional charges?
Yeah, good question. Let me just show you really quick how that how you access it. I think that would be probably the easiest thing to do. So if you go to Family School, oh, today's anniversary of Star Wars, everybody. It's exciting. Your course line, you can't see this. I can see this just because of the kind of account that I have. The course, you'll eventually, sometime this summer, you'll go to your course library and you'll scroll down, and below the subjects that you have access to right now, and you'll see K-8 math and K-8 language arts. And they're already populating these right now, but you can see levels K through 8. Carrie, where should I go here?
You could go in kindergarten. Oh, there you go.
It's the first lesson, the very first lesson of kindergarten. And lots of pictures. It's all online. This will be, they have, quick checks. So if they happen to be independent, which I don't think they will at kindergarten, but nonetheless, they could check their answers. This is at kindergarten, first grade, second grade. They're sitting next to mom or somebody, big older sibling or grandma or whoever. It's not likely that, I mean, this is a parent-led resource. And then we'll test all this content, right, this year for those who want to use this program. And it really is a wonderful, academically speaking, very, very solid program. And Carrie will explain a lot more about that on the 18th. But what we'll do is we'll test the academics with parents this year with their children. And we'll be making tons of improvements and modifications to this throughout the year, so that around January, February of next year, we can start bringing teachers into our studio and recording videos, teacher videos for math, for language arts, in the same way that we are doing for history and science and all the other subjects in LiftEd right now. These skills-based, level-based resources, we will also produce a student-facilitated version of them with great teachers on a great set, with great technology and great connection with other students and mentors. That will be added next year. But we don't want to do that until we've really proven and improved the resource. It just wouldn't be wise for us to invest that much money in producing content for students, because you're recording, it costs a lot more to produce videos than it does to write a lesson plan. So this year will be all about refining for us, and that's why we're giving it away for free to families who want to use it. And you'll have plenty of opportunity to review the scope and sequence and get to hear how it all came together and the experts that are behind it, to feel good about that, or not so good about it, right? It's totally up to you. But those who want to use it will have access to it right here in Family School for free, and then they'll always have access to it. So we'll improve that pretty significantly over the next couple of years, and you'll just continue to have it, whereas others will start to sell it as an add-on in Family School and so on. But again, parent-led here, student facilitator, student-led in LiftEd.
Okay, one question. Do you know, so that content isn't available to me yet. Do you know when that's going to go live for those who have subscriptions to Family School?
Math will be earlier. In fact, math could be in the next month. We'll have that version that you saw right there online for math, and language arts is quite a bit further behind. It will launch just weeks before.
Okay.
Just a couple of weeks before and it will only launch with the first unit of maybe the first unit or the first couple of weeks of language arts. It'll be in production throughout the year, and so we'll be producing and refining what we've published in language arts. So quite a bit further behind. Language arts is just, it's so much bigger than math as far as like the amount of resources and people. There's so many disciplines that have to weave together so perfectly. And when we're building a language arts program that's comprehensive, so you have many language arts programs out there that are good spelling programs or good reading programs or good writing programs, but this is a program that is completely comprehensive of all disciplines of language arts all in one.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Mandy.
I have a question.
Is it okay if I go with the ones that have had their hands up here first?
Yeah, I'm just driving, so I couldn't raise my hand.
Okay, I'll get to you though. All right. Well, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Mandy, Court and Charlene, Emily, Stephen, Rebecca, then Natalie. Okay. That's who I have as far as hands up right now. Go ahead, Mandy. You get 5 seconds, Mandy. Maybe she's not there anymore. Go ahead, Court. Or Charlene.
Hey there, have two questions. I'll ask them both and let you pick which one to answer first. The first one's about worksheets, second one's about the geographical groups. Regarding worksheets, I'm finding myself creating worksheets that I want the kids to physically write and answer questions after. Is it possible, are they going to create those for LiftEd? If not, can we as parents contribute and submit potential worksheets to you guys that you may or may not want to add for everybody to use? Is the first question.
Yes and yes.
Great. Okay, because I would rather share that. Many hands make light work. If we're all putting worksheets up, we can pick a worksheet to use for our kids. We would love that option.
Crowdsourcing.
Like maybe have
crowdsourcing
a library
feature.
Yeah, like a library of parental submitted worksheets we could pick from. Second, geographical groups. It sounds like you're going to group by geography for the LiftEd classes. We're in a weird situation. We live in California. We're building up in Cache Valley, Utah. One kid knows, one kid, but we'd like to be geographically grouped where we're going to be later this year. So how do we let you guys know that? Because our address is going to show Ventura, California until we're actually physically there, but we'd like them to be grouped with who they're going to be with later this year.
That's a really good question. That's going to always happen. And eventually the software will allow you to customize where it'll basically let you set that. It'll be based on the address that you give us. So if you give us an address in Montana or Wyoming, I can't remember. Did you say Wyoming or Montana?
Utah, Cache Valley.
Oh, Cache Valley. I don't know why I had Wyoming or Montana in my head. Nonetheless, you can insert that, and you'll also be able to make manual changes to that. So we don't want to be overly restrictive. We want to encourage the organic development of learning communities, because we know that in the end, no matter how good the software is, no matter how simple it is, no matter how amazing the content is, it never will replace in-person learning. There is something that happens when people get together, right? And we want every family to have that ability, but it'll take time, right? Because this has to grow. And as it grows and as it expands, that'll become more of a possibility. Now you're moving to an area where that's a real possibility this year. Of your kids getting to know other students who happen to live 10 minutes away, right? That's what we want to have happen. And then they say, oh, I want to get together with so-and-so who I met, who's my friend now. And you do get together, right? And you go do something together. And those are the kinds of connections and friendships that really are the ones that are the most lasting. As good as we can make it, and we think we can make it pretty good online, we still don't discount, we still don't put that above in-person connection. Yeah.
So should we put our upcoming address in registration, since you guys aren't mailing stuff right now anyway, so that they get grouped with kids they'll be with later this year when it does come time for fall, winter?
You could do it that way, or you could just message us, and Molly will be handing a lot of those manual adjustments to families as they request them. So Molly's always available on chat, not always. It seems like she is always available on chat, and then she's very responsive with email as well.
So it wouldn't require them moving to a new LiftEd Power Hour Plus group then?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Peter, this is Mandy. My phone unmuted.
Oh yeah. Okay, Mandy.
Hey, so I just want to know what this looks like for families who love to do the lessons together. It looks like what it looked like is that in this new program that they get on separately and they're doing their lessons individually. Is that the case, or can we still do them together as a family?
Oh, such a good question. I'm so glad you asked that, because that's what we hope happens. We actually hope that certain elements of LiftEd become obsolete, like the class, for example. We don't want to do the class. We want you to do the class. We would love for you to get together few times a week and do class and rotate through houses and homes and maybe you gather together and you have a big screen that you're streaming to and you're watching Miss Christie or Mr. Rule or any of the other teachers, you know, and you pause it and you discuss it there, right? Or you use Family School and do that. I mean, there's the resources for you to use in the way that you feel it best supports your children and the community in which you're learning. And there's nothing restrictive about what we're producing. It's only as restrictive as your imagination is about how you use the resource in the way that you want to use it.
Awesome. And as far as literature and art, where are those going, or what does that look like? Are they being integrated into other units?
Yeah, and I cut April off, and so she didn't get to share how the humanities are being addressed. They're just not taught in a silo anymore. We're taking all the humanities, all the art, literature, music, and we're including them in those explore modules, and those hotspots where the children can go explore. If we're studying medieval times and history, then there's going to be an explore option where they go study the art of the medieval times. They study the music of the medieval times. They study literature of the medieval times. And so all humanities will be taught in context of science, of history, of world studies.
Does the LiftEd little pathway that there's going through, you can do that as a family, or is that an individual thing that they go through? And then how, like, math and language are on there and they're keeping track of where our kids are individually? How does that look? Then I'm done. I'll stop talking.
It's all student specific. So if you want students to have the student specific experience, like that, the point system, the reporting, the grading, the feedback that you can provide as a parent, the access to see what they're doing, what they're learning, the videos that they're sharing, all of those tools are all student specific. So you need to have an account for every student. But you could pick level 2, for example, and say you have children that are, you know, level 1 and level 2 in your home. You could do it together, right? Like they could sit in front of the same screen together and work through this path together, and they could decide together, hey, let's go learn this, or let's go down this path. Or I love studying about the symbiosis between a honeybee and a flower, but I'd like to learn more about pollination. Oh yeah, let's go talk and learn about beekeeping or hives. Or, I mean, there's endless paths, right, that spin off of learning. And that's what the idea of this explore learning is. And so ideally, the student gets to choose that for themselves. But maybe a parent wants children to sit together, and that would be fine too. You need to have an account for both students. That's the terms of use of this. You'll notice in the terms of use, when you sign up, read them, because it's different than Family School. Family School is a family parent-led experience, but LiftEd is a student facilitated experience. So it requires a license for every student that's participating.
Will the video going away on the Family School, or will we still have access to those if that's something that works for us more? You know, if we decide not to do LiftEd because we want to do it as a family, will those videos still be available on Family School?
No, actually, they'll all come off after next year. And so Family School will be parent-led. That's that parent-led side. So we've been using Family School just as a way to provide a concept for student facilitated learning, but we're going to be taking those off as soon as LiftEd is built out.
Darn.
Yeah.
Can I just clarify one thing too? A couple of things that I keep seeing in the chat. Number one, the arts and humanities, like Peter said, are going to be integrated cross-curricularly. That may not happen this fall. That actually will come in a later push as we build out that part of the platform, but it is coming. So just know, I don't want anybody to be disappointed when it's not right there. The literature is being integrated into the new language arts program. The bulk of that is. So make sure you watch for that. They're also working on adding in lots of different new literature pieces. And then we'll also be adding literature in on this Explore piece that Peter just mentioned, you know, and so watch for those things to pop up.
Or what is the reasoning? I see lots of people screaming no, like I am inside. What is the reasoning for taking those videos down? Are they good? Because I guess you guys are going to be doing these units different and the videos will be different since you're not doing a full year. Is that kind of the situation? You're not doing a full year, you're doing 2 weeks of videos. So it's a whole different scope and sequence than potentially the family school is. What's the reasoning for taking down the videos?
You mentioned one of them. I mean, that's one of them, right? Scope and sequence is different. The content is different. The courses that we're turning into student facilitated learning are different. We're not producing videos for art, math, for art, literature, and music. So half of the courses that we have on family school, we're not even continuing to produce content for in a student facilitated way. That's part of the reason. Another really important reason is that there needs to be a distinction between this parent-led resource that we have that is extremely affordable. We want to make this also very affordable to the student facilitated experience, but there are a lot, I mean, I can't express to you how much this is possible because of good donors who are investing a ton of resources. And it's not cheap to produce that. And so we need to create a different product out of that student facilitated resource. And it just makes sense for us to divide them. Now that we have a student facilitated platform and a parent facilitated platform, that those become 2 separate products and that we don't mix them. It's just too confusing. And frankly, the videos that we're producing out of the studio, they will not work on family school. The way that we're producing them to engage learning with questions, with summative questions and opportunities for students to turn their video camera on and respond to a question, that wouldn't make sense. If I put that video on family school, it would be very disruptive for that learner. And it would cost quite a bit more money to do it that way too, to produce 2 different videos, one for family school and one for LiftEd.
Yeah, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. But a lot of us have become a little dependent on those,
yeah.
even though it's not necessarily parent led. I think we've loved them.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's, and we're hoping that if that's the case, that you sign up for LiftEd, if you love that experience, that student facilitated experience, and you want to have that kind of experience with your children, then you have a very viable and also very affordable, especially for you because of the discount that you're receiving. And you don't need to pay for family school. You can just keep your LiftEd service. You'll have access to family school, so you can always go back and do it that way too.
Peter, this is Jeanette. I just saw Molly had put up in response to some of these questions that I think clarified nicely, is that if I understand right, the old Student Go videos will still be available in family school, the ones that we've had so far, but the new videos would just be on LiftEd. Is that correct? Or no videos at all?
Yeah, I mean, we could keep them there. Our plan is to not have them there because we've only produced a certain percentage of them. Keeping them there sets an expectation that we're gonna finish it. It wouldn't be hard for us to leave them there, and if families feel like leaving them there would be better, what we would probably do is just take the current families that are with family school and archive those in a way where you can see them, but new families couldn't see them. That makes sense.
Maybe kind of like we had with the high school, the original high school videos, because we still access, but we access them through a link that is not really readily available on the website. It's kind of buried.
Yeah, that's right, intentionally, because we want people moving to the HS Online experience for those courses. They're just much better courses. And that's kind of how we feel about the videos that we've produced too. That the videos that we're producing right now for next year are they're so much better than what we've produced, that we really want people to move to that, as opposed to using something that we're not overly proud of, frankly, and we know is not as effective as what we are producing. Okay, Emily.
Okay, so I had sorry, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so I had a couple of questions. How can we get access to this webinar for the 19th? was the first one about the language arts. Where is that link to get on or to, sorry, I have background.
Okay.
So how do we get signed up for the webinar for the language arts one? And then the next question is, if we aren't able to get into the first group of LiftEd, is there still a way to have that discount, or is that just for the ones who are able to fit into the first 900 that sign up for that? And then if we have like other siblings who are not old enough, how would that work as well?
What a good question. Not something that I've thought of, but we'll have to talk about that. And we want families who've been with us and who've been paying, right? Families who've paid for lifetime memberships and who've been monthly members. We want them to feel like when they move to LiftEd, that we value what they've helped us, what they've helped us do, frankly, over the last 10 years. And so it's not as much about breaking even in this and covering costs as much as it is producing strong ambassadors of LiftEd in AHS worldwide. I don't see a big problem with us extending discounts to these families. Now that said, to you and to other families who might not be able to get in this year, I don't think that's really going to happen. I really think that there are a lot of homes, maybe I'm wrong, and certainly I could be, and I hope I am actually. I hope I am wrong in this, and that maybe there are more families who really feel strongly that this is the path that they need to take. But remember, we're talking with a group right now of families who figured out how to do it and do it the way that you're doing it. And you're not the group of families who came in for a year and couldn't figure out a path forward after that first year or that second year. And so my assumption is that we'll actually have a pretty manageable, we'll be able to set manageable expectations with this, with 1,000 students, that almost every student who's currently with us will be able to get into it. There's a possibility that we might extend it. Like if we really had that kind of, enrollment response to LiftEd that exceeded 1,000 from our existing families, well, that would be wonderful. And we would expand the pilot because we really feel comfortable with you. You're a group who cares about what we're doing. You know a lot about what we're doing. And so for us, I guess what I'm saying, and don't take this the wrong way, you're a very forgiving group. Because you love American heritage. You love teaching the principles of the gospel in academics. Not every family's like that. Not every family can go through the kinds of bumps in the road that founding families of family school had to go through for many, many years. And if there are families here who are kind of those first couple of years, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But they did it. And why did they do it? Because they cared so deeply about it. They cared so deeply about the mission of American Heritage School and providing that kind of faith-centered education for their children that they're willing to. And so if from our existing families who we already know and who love what we're doing and we love who they are, if we had 2,000 students who wanted to from that group, we would take every one of them. It wouldn't be a problem. It's managing the expectations of the non-consumer that I'm concerned about, and new families and families that were with us for a year and then left, or free members who have never had a membership and never really done family school, that I would be more concerned if we had too many of those families. Managing their expectations is actually much more difficult than managing the expectations of families of family school. Does that make sense?
Kind of, because I actually felt really blessed because I got your text. I actually watched your webinar when you started the Heart School and when you started this program, and we've had several kids since then. And I saw that last night. I'm like, this is something that we need in our lives, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be possible since it's not something that I had actually thought of in the last year plus.
Well, I definitely don't feel like we couldn't extend the discount that you're going to receive to whenever it's right for your family, for families that have been with us. That's something that I think I can just say that's an easy decision, unless Deanna comes in here and actually, Deanna, you're home. she can't come in here and bop me over the head. But you can speak up, Deanna, if you felt strongly about that. But I certainly.
Sorry, Peter, they can't. So they can't continue the discount, or can?
They can whenever it's right for their family. I mean,
Because that's what I've been telling people.
good. Well, yeah. I mean, whether they feel like this year is the right year or not. I mean, I really, as long as a family's paying for family school or have paid a lifetime membership, or they're paying for a monthly membership, and they have been, and next year they come around and they say, hey, I'd really like to do this year. Can I still exercise this discount code? I don't see any problem with that at all. And we'll send some kind of communication out to you so that you know. In fact, the email that you get, I'll just modify that so that it has a little bit of context about when you can use that discount.
And then will you have an email for the webinar for the language arts and math that you said, that one's on the 19th, you said? Are you going to send out a link?
Isn't it the 18th?
For that webinar? Or was it
Yeah, you'll receive an email. You'll receive an email about that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Emily and everybody, I'm actually going to go back on what I just said about this discount being used whenever you want. We have to have a certain number of students for us to learn what we need to learn this year too. There's a big incentive for us to have you sign up right now. You'll be able to have a discount, but I'm not going to guarantee that it's the same discount as what you're going to be emailed today. So let me just clarify that there needs to be some kind of urgency in this decision to gather the right number of students together so that we can learn what we need to do to improve the resource, that when we expand this next year, that we've improved it to the highest level that we possibly can. Because next year, this time, it's a totally different experience for us. Next year, right now, we're going to be having a webinar with families, thousands of families and students who've never been with us, who are coming to public school for the very first time. And we need to have the resource sharp, and it has to be refined to a level that will be the kind of resource that will be able to support them their very first year without any bumps in the road, right? They can't handle them because they're new at this. So I'll provide some details about how you can use that discount in the email, but it likely won't be, you likely won't have the same discount that you have this year if you're a current family, but you'll have a discount. Okay, Rebecca Bench, there's a founding family for you right there.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Rebecca.
Okay, so my question is, I'm concerned for my daughter. She's in 7th grade going into 8th grade, and that's the class that's like the transition thing that you guys are not quite sure. You know, I'm fine with her not learning along with her little sister, which is never a concern. So so she would just be okay. So Power Hour is gone, LiftEd is coming, and by purchasing LiftEd, Power Hour Plus comes with it, and she can still be in it for the 8th grade.
Yeah, well, we probably shouldn't have said it that way. I mean, Power Hour is not going anywhere. It's just improved, and so we're calling it Power Hour Plus.
Okay.
So that's all the same as it's always been. They'll be able to join with a class of only audit students or a class with other 4-credit students. One of those two.
Okay. Because I'm trying to, this is a scary transition phase, because going into 9th grade, I'm like, what are we gonna do? I'm still not quite sure what we're gonna do. And so like if someone, even not right now, could talk to me about like all my options and what that's gonna look like. Oh, there you are, you keep moving. Like where are you? So first, this is all new territory, and this is her choice. This is not my choice to keep her from school. This is her choice, and she absolutely loves interaction with the other kids online. And like, I completely lost her. I love teaching her, but she's moved on. So
can I just make a recommendation to you? I think that's probably, I think you're looking for a recommendation, Rebecca. Both options are available. But if I were to make a recommendation, I would highly recommend that your AHS online, current AHS online for audit students participate in LiftEd level 3. The experience will be significantly better for them than the courses and experience that they'll have with the AHS online audit experience. Now, the AHS online credit experience is remarkable. It's really, really good. But as far as if you have a student who you don't want to in middle school who is not interested in credit, in grading, in consultations, in transcripts, those kinds of things for middle school, the LiftEd experience is going to be far better than the AHS online audit experience for middle school.
Okay.
But we don't want to take that option away because maybe they want that Canvas experience and they want to be able to grade their assignments, because that's one thing that Canvas will do this year that LiftEd will not do. So if you're a parent who really liked grading your middle schoolers' assignments this year, then that's one really significant difference between the two.
Can I just add on that note though, Peter, that as a parent in LiftEd, you will be able to see your students' assignments and you will be able to not give them points on a letter grade, but you will be able to give them feedback and comments within the platform.
Okay, that would be very helpful because I'm always on her. I'm like, hey, have you done the assignment? Have you uploaded? And this year she has completely chose to not to. And I'm like, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to do the whole experience and you have to apply yourself. This is how you're going to learn.
Part of what Peter wasn't able to show you is the parent interface. And as a parent, you will have a landing page that you'll have access to all of your students' recorded videos. So any video that they record will come to this landing page and you'll be able to see them there without having to go out into the path and kind of dig around for them. They'll all be there available along with the record assignments, and you'll be able to watch their record assignments. For this first year, you'll just be able to comment back and forth, but in a future update, you will be able to even video reply back to them and say, you know, you could either provide face-to-face feedback or you could even put in a video feedback for your student.
Okay. Okay. So many new things to learn.
Yes, that's true. Marcy Hill, go ahead. I'll be able to take just a couple more questions and then I'll need to leave, but I don't know.
Yeah, I want to make it quick. I'm just so inspired by your constant spirit of innovation. And I'm one of those homeschool families that I want to feel like I'm the primary teacher in the home. So as I look at this, and also I really love books, using books. And so I'm wondering if you could tell me if this is going to increase the kids' use of computer. That's a concern of mine. And also if I can do like 3 days a week instead of 4, because we also have a co-op and I kind of want to keep being able to be the primary teacher and have it all be farmed out.
Yeah, well, that's a really, really good question. And you're bringing up a topic that is a concern of a lot of parents, like how much tech time does my child have? And you only know if the answer to that is yes, it will increase tech time or it will decrease. I would assume it increases time with tech if they're using LiftEd as opposed to family school. Depending on the way you use family school, I have to say, as I've thought a lot about this and worked with a lot of you over the last 10 years, I feel differently about that today than I did many, many years ago. And there's so much good research out there now that and this is a great book for any of you who are looking for a book that helps parents to understand the implications of technology. Richard Kulata is the former director of education technology for the US. He's also a member of the church. And he wrote this book, Digital for Good. He's one of our advisory board members. And I have to just tell you that there are so many people who have spent their life in various areas that are counseling us and advising us all along the way. I can't take the time to share with you that many of our ideas, our strategies, our plans, most of them are informed by well beyond anything that I or any member of our team has learned in the last decade, and in really significant ways. I wish I had the time to share that with you. But as far as technology is concerned, maybe we'll come across as a little bit of a soapbox here, but I'm just sharing my personal feelings here. Having 5 children, 4 boys, 4 teenage boys specifically, I am much more concerned about giving my children tech time in productive ways and allowing them the opportunity to model, for me to model to them appropriate use of technology when they're very young. I want my children having these kinds of experiences with technology when they're 5 years old. I'll reduce tech time in a lot of other ways. The kind of tech time I want my kids to have is this kind of tech time. Learning and exploring in productive and positive and faith-filled ways. So that when they turn 12 or 13 or whenever it hits them, and it will hit all of them, that they've had an experience with technology that has taught them how to navigate that in a way that so many don't have. Keeping tech out of children's hands, I don't believe is a very good idea at all. And I'll just leave it at that. So that's informing a lot of our decisions about how we use technology. We model how we use video technology, how we use engagement technology. There's all kinds of technologies implemented in this platform that are technologies that they have on various apps that they're not using so wisely. We want to show them how to use them wisely, how to connect with each other and be safe with technology. Digital for good, yes, raising kids to thrive in an online world. That's just one. There's so much data out there that support that idea, but that doesn't mean it's right for every child, right? It's just
So, yeah, just to clarify, I mean, I'm totally not anti-technology, of course. It's more just wanting to feel that I guess I've really appreciated how I've been able to use the a la carte method with the audit classes. That's been really helpful for me because, you know, as a parent, I want to be able to decide what we're studying, the content of what we're studying, and then use AHS as a supplement, not the main thing. So that's really kind of what because I do want to spend most of our time in books.
Yeah.
And use technology as a supplement, not the other way around. So I'm wondering if we could do like 2 days of the LiftEd instead of 4.
Oh, yeah, you can do it however you want to do that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that either, just so you know, Marcy. I think that children should be in books a lot more than technology.
The only concern I see, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying 30 minutes on the LiftEd platform, exploring with other students on this learning path shouldn't be the extent of their learning, right? And we'll have lots of recommended readings that go along, just like family school, we'll have lots of recommended readings that go along with every lesson and every unit and every course. And when it comes right down to it, you have to also understand that this is not, LiftEd is not for everyone. I hopefully I communicated that many times in this couple hours that we've been together today, that there is a totally different, another standard, and even a higher level of instruction coming from a parent that I think is superior to this. And I don't disagree that LiftEd can't support that parent that way. I see its application everywhere, I guess is what I'm saying. But at the same time, there's something about a mother teaching her children, right? And not even having the art teacher teach them. But there is also something really important about making this more of a realistic step for families who can't do what you're doing. You represent a 2% demographic of Latter-day Saint and all faith homeschoolers that happen to make it work. And you will help those families come along. We will do the same thing. And that's the goal of LiftEd, is really that when a family says, oh my goodness, I cannot do this a day longer, and I need a different solution, that when they look around, they find LiftEd. They don't find homeschool like we know it today, like you knew it 10 years ago. They don't find online school like they knew it during COVID. And they don't certainly find private school that they can't afford, but they find something that they can do. And many of you will say, that's not an improvement for me. And that means LiftEd's not for you, but that's okay. But it is something for a lot of other families who can't make what you've done work.
I just wanted to add to that one of the things that Peter and I have talked a lot about and worked and thought it through is that ultimately you as the parent have the choice about what your students learn and what they do. But just keep in mind that this is a unit studies approach. So if you only do 2 days a week, that you may have to fill in holes in other places on your own, right? If you're only doing 2 days, then they may miss some of the science content because we're not rotating through subjects every day like we were this current year.
Do you guys think we should have another webinar? I've got to run. I've got to go play Caesar for the 5th grade. Every year, once a year, I get to play. There's Duncan. Not Duncan.
Peter, you
Sorry,
didn't
Nova.
mention anything about the paper. Peter, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mhm.
You didn't mention anything about the supplemental papers that we're able to order with this new program. Will there still be a store where we can buy stuff that's pre-printed that can be mailed to us, or is that going to change? I know
Yeah,
you need to go.
definitely.
You haven't touched on that paper piece.
Yeah, definitely. Like all of the handouts that we use from lesson to lesson will be compiled in a book. It'll be printable, or you could purchase it from Alpha Graphics. It's awesome. Alpha Graphics does all of our printing and fulfillment now, and we don't have to think about it.
So it'll all just go through that little store link that you have where we can go and click on what we want to buy.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
They aren't there yet, Kristen, but they will be.
They will be. Okay. And then I think that you did a really great job of explaining about how those of us who jump on board right now, we're helping you move the program forward. So the price you're giving is a very generous price for us. So I think, I can't speak for everybody, but maybe where some people are having a hard time is, say my preschooler right now is going into kindergarten and I have to decide if she's ready, attention span wise and everything, to do this program with her older brother. If I only pay the $22 for Cooper, then, and I don't do it for Harper next year, but she's ready in 1st grade, could she get it for the $22 because as a family, we joined you from the beginning?
Yeah, the discount is an account level discount. It's not a student level discount. That's a great question. Yeah, it makes no difference. You keep the discount as part of your family account. So as you add and remove students, you keep that discount. Good question. All right, very last question, Debbie Christensen. At least for me. April, Nate, maybe they want to stay on and answer some of them as well.
Well, it's possible that April can answer this question too. I'm really just curious about the logic behind the drop time for the courses. We're one of those committed families. Like, we love AHS. It's the best thing that's happened to our family, especially because we moved to Hawaii. And because we're in Hawaii, that Pacific 9 o'clock drop time means we have a 6 o'clock drop client, 6 a.m. That's pretty rough. So we're just wondering, what's the logic behind that drop time? And if you know, if there's potential there for, you know, maybe if there are other families across the nation who might want to do it at a later time, if that would even be something you would consider.
Yeah, it all has to do with enrollment growth yeah, it all has to do with growth and capacity. So if you're in a time zone where you have a critical mass where we can put together a class, that's the important thing for us, is that we're able to have enough students in that time zone to communicate the same message to them. So Hawaii at 9 o'clock would be great for us if we had a class that we could put together in that time zone. It'd be a little bit more difficult because Hawaii sits in a time zone with not very many other people, right? They're kind of—
Yeah, it's all on its own. So really my question is, how do you, like, typically we would be we would partner with the Pacific time zone, which is totally fine. But you know, if there are people in the Pacific time zone that, if you have like an overload in that time zone and they want to do it at a later time or something like that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
How would you be able to figure that out?
Well, it won't be difficult next year. It'll be difficult this year. It's a 1-year problem that we face right now, because next year we'll have plenty of students to be able to accommodate whatever someone's schedule will be in that particular time zone. I don't doubt that next year in Hawaii we could put together an entire class of LiftEd students, all in the same time zone, right? But this year we won't, because we're limiting the enrollment to 1,000. We know what the statistics are right now, how many are in each of these time zones. There's, I don't know, Nate, what were they, like 27% in the East Coast and like 29% in Central and 44% in Mountain, and the others in about that, right?
Yeah, that's roughly right.
In the Pacific. And so so where we're trying to create a program and communicate very simply and clearly to everybody about when the lesson drops, and develop a piece of software that drops the lesson at the right time for everybody, right? It's really important that we stick with those times this year. So the best we could do is give you a Pacific time zone, which is that 7 o'clock? What is it for? What's the difference between Pacific and—
Currently it's 6 a.m.
Oh, it's 3 hours difference. Yeah.
Halfway, you know, like when it changes, when you guys change, then it's at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And right now we go to class at 7 a.m., but it's really hard.
Well, I don't know, Debbie. I don't have the answer right now for that question. I want to say we can figure this out, but I don't know this year if we can. I just need to think about that. There's so many implications of those kinds of decisions that ripple to Nate and managing those coaches and providing that service, and we're limited, you know, with how robust the creation of those classes can be this year, because we're really putting all of our focus into getting as much of the LiftEd features that I just showed developed for day one, rather than some of these anomalies they're not anomalies, but they're additional functionality that help to create other classes and other groups that fall outside of that kind of US Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific time zone.
Well, I just want you to know I'm really grateful for everything that you do.
Thank you.
And for even answering that question. So
yeah, thanks.
I get it. There are tons of implications. So
but it doesn't mean that we can't figure out a solution. So just let me ponder that with the team before I respond. Yeah. Okay, everybody. I've got to take off. I'm gonna leave this meeting running, and you're welcome to stay here, and April and Nate can respond. We can also jump on in Molly as well. I think Elizabeth's still here. Carrie, hi Malia. Anyway, I've got to run. Thank you for being. This is just incredible. There's still 133 people here on this Zoom call. This is even better than Power Hour. I love seeing the kids in the back too. That is one of the highlights for us in the retreats that we do is getting to see your kids. We see them online, but to be able to connect with them in person is maybe more special for us than it even is for them. I don't know, probably not, but I feel like it. Anyway, thank you all. I'm just gonna turn my video off and I'll keep this. Can I leave?
You can go. I'm the host.
Okay,
And I'm
fantastic.
recording, so we're good.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye now.
Okay, let's go to Natalie Hess and we'll try to answer your questions the best we can.
So I appreciate the concept of splitting up by ages more than what has been. But I have concerns with, so 5 of my children will be school age next year, ranging from kindergarten to 10th grade. And so if we only have class at 10 o'clock as an option, then I have concerns with needing to do video calls for all of my students at the same time and just, you know, whether or not I'm going to be able to stream that many videos. In the past, I've tried to kind of stagger things. My husband also works from home and does video calls, and then I have a accredited online student, so she's doing classes kind of throughout the day, but I've tried to kind of stagger so I don't have too many video calls going on at the same time. And so I'm just wondering, are there options at all to, you know, change times of different ages, or they all need to be on video at the same time?
Right now, those are our only options, but we'll definitely take this feedback into consideration when we come back together and talk as a team. Right, Nate, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tricky because I get it, you know, there's only so many devices and you want to make sure you've got a strong enough internet to be able to have those video calls going on at different times and avoiding the echoes and all of the craziness that can happen with that. Yeah, I mean, like Peter said, we might be able to make some exceptions for people that want to be part of the same power hour with their cousins that live across the country. And, you know, we might be able to make some exceptions in this regard as well. The only downside to that is, you know, then half of your kids are doing LiftEd and then power hour plus with kids that live across the country that they don't know. And therefore they don't have the opportunity to potentially get together with them on Fridays, right? And so pros and cons there, but we're going to try to be flexible where we can.
Okay, yeah, so we're in a really interesting situation this year too, because we just moved into an RV and we're going to travel for the next year. So we don't have like a locked in location, I guess, for the next year. But I'd be totally open to, you know, having my kids, say younger ones joining in Pacific time or, you know, kind of splitting them up that way. And again, locations to separate people so there's not echo and you know, too many voices going on at the same time. There's only so many places in here that I can separate kids. So
we hear you. We've got 7 desks in this office.
And we all are on Zoom at different times, so it makes it, we understand.
Yeah,
the
we get it.
interesting challenge.
Yeah.
So if you ever see people behind Coach Nate, it's usually our team busy at work.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're going to be traveling around, I would assume the best option is just going to be to pick the time zone that works best for you, or time zones, right, for the upper and early elementary groups.
Yeah, the most important thing right now is to make sure that you're enrolled. You filled out that enrollment form, so you're on the list, and then we can work out all of those details about which time zone you're going to be falling into. We can work all those out later as we adjust registration.
okay, and I'm sorry to talk so much today, but I'm still unclear. What's the difference between Power Hour Plus and LiftEd? Because I thought
LiftEd is the content delivery. That's how the content is being delivered, is through LiftEd. Power Hour Plus is the class service. It's the discussion and the time with the learning coach.
It's almost like LiftEd is replacing the Student Go videos. It's like we're going from Student Go videos to this way more interactive game that involves videos and a roadmap, and they get to see the other students in their time zone working alongside them. Then after that's over, they jump onto Power Hour Plus, because we're making a lot of improvements with it.
So are they not going to be required to have a family school membership in order to add Power Hour Plus, nor required to have a LiftEd, or will one of those be required before they can add on Power Hour Plus?
I think what Peter said earlier was that everybody who signs up for LiftEd will maintain their family school membership. So they'll still have access to all of the family school content. It's just that if you want to participate in Power Hour, you have to access the content through LiftEd. That the content that we are going to be discussing in family school and things like that will not be, or sorry, the things that we'll be discussing in Power Hour Plus are not available on the family school site. You'll have to access that through LiftEd, the platform, the content delivery system.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying that a person, in order to sign up for Power Hour Plus, they would need to be accessing the content through LiftEd.
Absolutely. So LiftEd is, you have to sign up for LiftEd first. Then you add on things like you're adding on the service of Power Hour Plus.
Okay, perfect.
Does that help?
So
Okay.
the Power Hour Plus is the live class.
The live class that is a companion to the LiftEd content delivery system.
So, and then you would pay for both, and the 22 for lifetime memberships, that's only paying
That's for both, because you're getting the
video
discount.
and things.
It's, yeah, so you're getting, so you could choose to just do LiftEd and not do Power Hour, but you can't choose just Power Hour and not LiftEd. So you have to choose LiftEd first, and then you add on Power Hour, and that's how we get to the 88 per month. So you could just purchase LiftEd and choose not to do Power Hour and still get a 75% discount on just the content. And that lesson would drop whenever your time zone is available. Your students could do that whenever, and you could have that live discussion. Instead of tuning into Power Hour Plus, you could go to a family education center. You could go to your co-op. You could do it at home as a parent with your children and still have that face-to-face discussion, just not attend the Power Hour Plus Zoom gathering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. One other thought is on having the videos available. I don't know, we've enjoyed watching the video as a family the day before. So it's not so hectic in the mornings before class. So I don't know if those could be available.
That, yeah, for LiftEd, it's going to be released kind of like TV episodes. The whole goal is to release it episodically, so it creates that anticipation and excitement that the class goes live at 9 o'clock. Your children know it's time to come and log on. And so they'll always be available after that, but they'll only be made available an hour before the live class if you sign up for Power Hour Plus.
And that's
If you
really
don't-
important because it provides the opportunity for students to be able to work together and not have to work alone and get lonely and bored.
So one of the beautiful things about LiftEd is that a student will be able to log on and see other students, and they'll, as they go through that lesson map, they'll be able to see who else is at that stop with them. So who else is at the research stop? Oh, I'm here, and Abby's here, and Steven's here, and everybody's here with me. And then when I go to I come back and I'm like, oh, everybody's left this stop and I'm here all alone. It's because they've gone to the next stop. So it's really their way of feeling like they're together and connected without having to be in a classroom together face to face. So that's what we're creating, is we want everybody to log on at the same time and experience the lesson map together with their classmates, because the videos will pause. The teacher will be teaching and they'll pose a question and the video will pause, and the student will have the opportunity to record a video response to that question and submit it. And then other students will be able to see their responses and respond back and forth, give a thumbs up. Eventually we'll be able to have them video message back and forth, kind of like Flipgrid, but built in the middle of the video.
Okay, that makes sense. And I really like that.
So it's important. That's why it's important to that's why we're releasing it the way that we are. Every decision that we've made has we have put in so much time and thought into this, and we've had so many discussions. Nate and I have had discussions, Peter and I, our whole team. We have not made these decisions lightly about release time and study groups and class times. Like it's really been a journey. So. Okay, let's go to, I think Emily Fletcher was next.
Okay, so I had kind of a question on that. So if the classes, if the first part becomes available at 9, the class becomes available at 10. So, and I know a couple of people have asked this, and I'm not sure if it was responded to in the chat, but how, is there more they're supposed to do before or after that time? Or like how much are we, because if it's not posted until an hour before, then they'd have the 2 hours that they're in that. Are there more outside of that they're supposed to do during the day?
So they have an hour they'll have an hour in the map before the class go live. So their goal is to get through everything except maybe the record assignments. And an hour should be plenty of time, right? Because the videos are going to be the same length that they have been this year. So, 10 to 12 minutes for a research video, 5 to 6 minutes for the reason and relate video. So an hour should be plenty of time, especially because this first version, when we launch this fall, it will not have the cross-curricular content yet because that part of the platform has not yet been built out. We will be adding that throughout the year, maybe even not until next year. So one of the things we're testing and looking for is an hour enough time? Is it too much time? Do we need to how do we need to adjust that time that they spend before the live class? Then they'll attend the live class. If anything, they'll have to circle back and maybe do the record assignments after the live class. And then that's it. And outside of, what you choose to do about math and language arts, because we won't have those on LiftEd this year. Those will only be in the family school.
But like Peter said, there's already, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So if we chose to do so if we were doing the new with the language arts and the math, then we would just have the 2 hours that's part of the LiftEd, and then just that encompasses what they should, like their time in trying to schedule, like that would be the time that they would need to devote to that specifically.
Yep, 2 hours in LiftEd, and then whatever else you choose to do outside of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Nate, did you have a comment?
Sorry, I was just saying hi to Caesar.
Pop in.
Yeah, the only other thing was just that outside of the LiftEd experience and the Power Hour Plus experience, you'll have the option to dive into any of the recommended resources that we post with those, right? So awesome books that you can read with your kids, potentially some assignments as well that you can print off if I remember April's chat message right.
Yeah. Perfect.
So will we get notice ahead of time for like related readings, things they're supposed to read before the lesson?
Yes, this is one of the things that Peter wasn't able to show you, but before the lesson map goes live, there is a landing page that you have a landing page and the student has a landing page, and they look a little bit different because you as a parent have multiple children. And there are certain things that you as the parent can see that like the golden envelope portion of the map that your child doesn't see. They don't see that on their lesson landing page. So on the lesson landing page, it goes over a paragraph summary of what the lesson is about. It lists the academic concept and the principle of the day, the spell. And then it also says, these are all of the pre-reading things, and it will have hyperlinks. Either you need to print it or link out to that. Then it will have, these are the materials that you need for the day for the lesson or the record activity. And then it will have, these are the things that you may need to print in order to be prepared for the record assignments. So all of that will be available prior to the lesson, like a week in advance. Our goal is to get more than a week in advance, but until we actually start rolling this out, we'll have to see how that works. But you should be able to look at all of that material before. You'll know what the pre-reading is. And then at the end of the lesson, you'll also be getting a text message at the end of the day that comes to your phone that says your child finished this lesson. This was the score on the quiz. Here's a direct link to the videos that they recorded today. And then don't forget to look at the things for tomorrow. And it will also give you questions, like here are some questions to ask your kids about the lesson. And we've written all of the questions to be leading to a discussion.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Julie Hancock. Is she there?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question. I have an eighth grader this next year, and so she could do either one. When would the AHS online be scheduled compared to this?
The AHS online schedule is available right now, and it is a Monday through Friday program, and they pick different classes depending on what their interests are. They'll, if you did the full credit program, you know, you'd have like a base of classes that you have to do, like you have to do math, you have to do language arts, and then you can add on electives to that, or you could do like an a la carte audit. But those are, this year, those classes were the same as what we were doing in Power Hour, but that will not be the case next year. So what's happening in AHS Online will be different content. It's not unit studies than what we're doing in LiftEd.
Okay, and will the unaccredited option still be, I think Peter said it would still be available for AHS Online this year?
If you would, for 7th and 8th graders, if you had a 7th grader in it this year, and you want to continue, then that's fine. I personally recommend that you try LiftEd. It'll be much more interactive.
So my question, my daughter actually did Power Hour this year and AHS Online. She's a younger sister who does Power Hour, and she gets stuff in both classes. I talked to Molly previously, and we decided to keep her in both. And this is a child that's always hated school, and she loves it so much that she wants to do more and more. So I don't know if that's an option. She's really, one thing that helps her a lot is bonding with the teachers. That's how she thrives. And so she really likes her AHS Online teachers, but she also likes to be with her sister when she does her class. So I don't know if there's an option to pay for both. If it works out.
I think it would be two separate things, because AHS audit is housed in Canvas, and it's going to be a completely different program. So where last year Power Hour, everything was under the umbrella of Power Hour, we're splitting those two for this coming year. So I imagine you would have to register and pay to access LiftEd, and then there would be some kind of fee that you would have to pay to access the content on Canvas. But
okay, but it would still be credited, right? It would not the credited.
No, it would be audit, but you do have to pay for access to that content in Canvas, which would be because it's different content than what we're accessing in LiftEd. So I imagine you would have to pay the fee for LiftEd and a fee for what's in Canvas. So the fee we were discussing today is only for LiftEd. That doesn't include the audit program.
Okay. So I guess I'm not quite understanding. I had thought he said that we could choose, and that the not audited program would still be available for the AHS Online like last year, which was a lower fee, not like the $4,000 a year.
Right. It will still be available, but you will have to pay a fee, and it will be lower than the $4,000 yearly tuition for the accredited program.
Okay.
But that's a separate fee than this fee we're talking about today for LiftEd.
Okay, so how would I find out what that is, or do you guys even know yet?
I would message Elizabeth Henderson, or I would do, because Molly does family school. So I would message Elizabeth Henderson. She is our registrar for our admissions for AHS Online, and let her know that you would like to know how much it will cost to continue the audit program. And she will, if she doesn't know today, she'll find out and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, it does. I also, sorry, I just wanted to say also that, Power Hour, because for us, it's worked out amazingly well with his videos. It engages my, 5, 6, 7-year-old, and then also my older child. And they've gone from hating school to thriving this year. So it's been a great blessing. And I had to put my kids in public school for a couple of years because of health stuff. And that enabled me to bring them back home, because my amount of involvement was something that I was able to do with the new setup. So it's been great. I hope this new thing will be just as great or better. Or, that kind of thing as far as parental involvement.
Yeah, this is the thing, is that we've tried really hard to make this be, you as a parent can choose your level of involvement, right? Like you can choose how much you want to be involved. And the thing with like the golden envelopes, you could record those for every lesson, or you could choose not to record them. That is not going to show up if you don't record it. So there is no mom guilt there. A child is not going to come to you and say, there was no video under the golden envelope. The golden envelope just won't show up for them that day. So that way they just don't know that you didn't do it, right? And so we're trying to make it so that you can be the guide on the side, or you can be more involved if you want.
Okay, thank you. And will the videos be available later to view if they need to review them again later, like to review them?
Yeah, so once the lesson goes live, they'll be available until the following summer. And then at some point in the summer following the year, we'll have to close out the former year in order to prepare for the next year. And so there will be a window where there will be no content available on LiftEd. So you won't be able to go back and access previous content from previous years once we get going, but it will be available up until that point in the summer when we roll over to the next school year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Tiffany, let's go to you next.
Hinman, it's okay. Hinman, yeah. So my question was, and I actually typed it in the chat, is there any way in the future that we can possibly go to smaller class sizes in Power Hour than 50 to 75? Because that still seems like really huge for them to really be able to interact. And I understand, like, you have to have enough coaches qualified and excited and able to do all that. But I know that that's been something that some of my kids struggle with, is they just feel like it doesn't really matter that they're there because they don't ever get to really interact or talk. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that could be, I know they do some breakout sessions where they do get to kind of interact themselves. And I don't know if there's an option of pulling in parents, like for some lessons sometimes, where they could kind of, I don't know, break them out and kind of guide discussions on a voluntary basis on things like that or something. Anyway, just a thought, because I know I have one daughter that loves it, and because she talks a lot. She loves to talk a lot.
What's her name?
Emma Hinman.
Okay.
Yes. So I love her
Awesome.
dearly. Mwah.
Yeah.
She just listened to me. But I know others will not talk because they just feel more intimidated, and so they won't interact as much.
Yeah, that really is an effort that I've started making with my coaches this year, and I want to continue to improve on next year, is involving the kids that need a little bit more of a reason to speak up, right? Because maybe they're a bit more timid, or it takes a little bit more for them to be involved. So number one, part of the investing in our coaches is going to be much more training, and that will involve much more like, hey, that's, you know, along with the training, we're going to be lesson prepping together. And so I'm going to be there with a lot of these lesson prep sessions where we come up with good questions. And then what we've recently started doing is like, oh, which of these questions would be good questions, not to ask for hands for, but to specifically, you know, they're not intimidating at all. And so they'd be good questions to ask the students that haven't been raising their hands, right? Because they're not intimidating. And if they choose not to answer, they still don't have to. So we've started doing that. As far as the class size goes, one thing to keep in mind is that both last year and this year, we've had a certain number register for Power Hour and a smaller percentage actually attend, right? So when I say 50 to 75, that's the registered number. We'll probably have slightly smaller number that actually attend every single day. Some people might just come once in a while. Just because that's the nature of homeschool, right? You do it when it works for your schedule. So it will be smaller than you're probably imagining with those factors. And then, like I said, we're doing our best to continually improve ways of helping every student feel seen, heard, and appreciated and involved. So yeah, my goal is to definitely improve in that area. Along with the slight decrease in class size. We're just trying to keep that balance of keeping the price down for you guys, right? And if we go too much smaller, then all of a sudden it's not affordable for most families.
Thank you, Tiffany. Stephen Erickson.
Hi, thanks. I keep turning my hand up and down because questions kind of get answered a little as we go along. But with multiple children, my understanding from one of Peter's comments was that if I have, that it would be okay to just sign up one student, but have them kind of do it together.
I think he said they can do it together, but you would need to sign them each up. Each child needs to have their own registered account. And one of the things that the children get.
It's like if you've got multiple children and only limited devices, and there's only that one time that they can do it, that kind of takes out a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, that question we're going to need to post to him more again, because I understood it that each child would need to sign up individually, but then they could do the lesson path together if they wanted to.
He said it was because of licensing reasons that each child has to have their own account, but you can decide as a parent which learning path you want to use. But for licensing, you have to pay for each child who's going to participate.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kristen.
Okay, but then again, they're all to be on at that same time of day. So you'd have to be able to provide a device for that to be even possible if you chose.
Yeah, and we're trying to make it so that that it will work on even an iPad, as small as an iPad.
Even
Someday
there-
a phone. We hope to get it so that you can even do it from a phone. But an iPad is probably the smallest device right now I would recommend.
Okay. Okay, that limits our option, but okay, I think most of my other questions have been answered, so thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go to Gigi. I hope I said that right.
Yes, thank you. I have a quick question about the cost. So for example, I am currently paying a monthly fee for the family school and the power hour. If I were to register today for LiftEd, my monthly payment is starting in June. Would that just be LiftEd or LiftEd plus family school?
So your power hour, because currently you're paying for family school and power hour. So your power hour will end at the end on the last day of power hour. That will not, you won't be charged anymore for that. So LiftEd will replace that fee.
Okay,
starting-
so and I will continue to pay my membership for family school. Is that
If
correct?
you are not a lifetime member, then I believe so.
Is what?
If you're a lifetime member,
Is it a
then
proper noun? Yeah. If it's a proper noun, it should be capitalized.
so I think if you're a lifetime member, then obviously you've already paid for that. So your membership would continue. If you're not a lifetime member, I'm not 100% sure about the access to family school. I think you might still have to pay for that. I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. Do you know, Molly?
I'm sorry, I was looking somewhere else.
Do you know if they're not a lifetime member, they are either a monthly member or a free member? I'm assuming it's a monthly member. So right now she's paying for family school and she's paying for power hour. On the last day of power hour, her power hour, she'll stop getting charged for that, correct?
That is my understanding.
And
James,
then LiftEd takes over, right? Will she still make her monthly payment to family school and her monthly payment to LiftEd?
Family school separate, so you would unless you can't.
yeah, James says family school is separate. So unless she stops, her family school membership. Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Is that going to be automatic when they sign up for LiftEd because they get that content as part of that? Will they still be being charged for family school separately?
They will.
That was my understanding, unless, if you're a lifetime member, then you've already paid for all the family school content. And so you'll just maintain the lifetime membership over in the family school, but be paying for LiftEd. But if you're a monthly member on family school, you'll still have to pay your monthly fee there and pay for LiftEd.
Yeah, the way you're saying it, it sounds to me like, if I'm getting this right, that lifetime members, when they sign up for LiftEd, they will always have access to the family school content without obviously paying a separate fee or anything. But monthly members would have to pay family school separately,
So family school is a whole different product. So if they want to continue paying for it, they can.
but not for
then
lifetime members.
the lifetime they already paid for it, so they're still paying for it. Theoretically.
Right. Yeah, James is telling me that, yes, family school is always going to be a separate product. And the reason it's different for lifetime members is because they paid that one-time fee. So monthly members, and he did say that you can hurry and sign up for a lifetime if you wish to, so that can consolidate into your LiftEd. But that won't be available like into the future, like, a year from now, someone can't do that. So that'll be a limited time only for being able to do that. Right?
Can I rephrase that really quick? So for monthly, for those who have a family school monthly membership, is that required to have LiftEd, or is LiftEd a standalone platform that does not need a monthly family school membership?
So family school membership is separate, but the LiftEd will also have its own separate monthly cost too. So if you want to maintain both of those, you will need to be paying the monthly fee for family school and the monthly fee for LiftEd.
She can drop her family school membership if she would like and still access LiftEd.
Yes, she would have full access to LiftEd, but no longer have access to the content on family school.
And just know that not all of the content from the family school, it's not like you're going to log on to LiftEd and bam, it's all there. It's going to take another 10 years to get it all in.
I've got to run, April.
Okay, thanks, Nate.
Bye, guys.
Heidi.
Does that make
Okay,
sense? So it's
thank
going
you.
to take like, and the content is only there for 1 year. And so once we get around to the summer and we make the rollout for the next year, then the previous content is gone. Unlike the family school, the content is there and it will always be there.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let's go to Emma.